think that their offense is going to rest on Haas getting it done, and he is a good cold weather quarterback.
And without a rushing attack, you can bet the Packers will be coming after Jeff Hostetler, and you can bet we'll be seeing the 7-time Pro Bowler, Reggie White.
Well, I think Reggie's going to pin his ears back and go for the pass rush. They don't have to worry about the run today.
We're also on the verge of some NFL history. Sterling Sharp trying to become the first player in NFL history to record back-to-back 100-catch seasons. In fact, trying to become the first ever to have two 100-catch seasons. And the Packers will kick off. It'll be Chris Jackie to kick off for Green Bay. And back deep for the Los Angeles Raiders, Raghib Ismail, along with the other speedsters, Willie Gault and Alexander Wright. A low short kick. And this is taken by the Rocket, and the Rocket across midfield all the way down to the Green Bay Packer 44-yard line before he's finally run out of bounds by Sammy Walker. So Ismail, the leading kickoff returner in the AFC, sets up the Raiders in fine position for their first offensive series. Another look at the kickoff return by the Rocket.
This is a big hole, Dan. Look at this. And with this kind of speed, you can't afford to let this guy get outside like this. Actually, Green Bay's lucky they got him down. I think the field hurt him a little bit there when he made the cut, slowed him down.
Well, that one good for 46 yards, and Jeff Hostetler will set up at the 44-yard line for Los Angeles. The first carry of the game goes to Nick Bell, and he'll get no more than 2 or 3. The offense led by Jeff Hostetler, who, by the way, last week broke a 30-year-old Raider mark for rushing touchdowns with his 5th. Up front for him is Perry Wisniewski, Mosbar and Montoya, the veterans, and the right tackle Bruce Wilkerson. And behind him, Nick Bell gets the start. Steve Smith, an injured ankle, but he'll start. Tim Brown having his finest season ever. Alexander Wright coming off his first 100-yard game ever. Horton is the tight end, and we'll see the Rocket on the 3 wideout formation. And the ball resting at the 41, so it'll be 2nd down and 7 for Los Angeles. And Hostetler to the air for the first time. On the far side, he's got Tim Brown, and Brown had a look at the first down marker, but he was run back by Terrell Buckley, the left cornerback.
Yeah, actually, Buckley did a heck of a job there because they're just going to wind up with about a 3rd down and short here where he had a chance to get the first down there. It was a good tackle, good heads-up tackle on the outside.
Front 7 for the Packers. Reggie White turned 32 last Sunday, says he's playing his finest football ever. Wayne Simmons gets the start. It's a depleted linebacking core for the Packers. Holland and Bennett also at linebacker, and the secondary, George Teague, the free safety, is the rookie in this secondary. And this carry this time to Nick Bell, driven back by John Yurkovich, the nose tackle for Green Bay, and that'll bring up 4th down. And we could see Jeff Jaeger come in for a field goal attempt.
A big decision here, Dan. I think they could be hesitating on the sideline. Art Shell saying, do we go for it here?
And here comes Jeff Gossett. And he will line up in punt formation back close to midfield. So on 4th and a long yard, the Raiders will try to pin back the Packers.
And we saw the Achilles heels of the Raiders not being able to rush that football right there. It's already showing up in the game.
Mike Dwyer is the deep back for the Packers, and he'll let this one roll into the end zone. So Green Bay will get its first shot, 1st and 10 from the 20. Brett Favre is the quarterback for Green Bay on the verge of a 3,000-yard season, but he has also thrown 20 interceptions. That is an NFL high. And up front for Green Bay, Rutgers, Wydell, Winters, Galbraith, the free agent from Miami, along with Joe Sims at right tackle. And Darrell Thompson and Edgar Bennett, the running back. Sterling Sharp, 99 receptions, just 1 catch away from another 100-catch season. Ed West filling in for the injured Jackie Harris at tight end. And the Packers' first play from scrimmage is Darrell Thompson. Thompson, and Thompson may have gotten a yard. The Raiders come in the third-ranked defense in the NFL, led by the veteran Howie Long, the rising star. Second-year player out of Clemson is Chester McLaughlin. The linebackers Wallace Kelly and Winston Moss. Moss, the leading tackler. And in the secondary, they're led by Terry McDaniel. His 5 interceptions leads this unit, and the Raiders #1 against the pass in the NFL, and they'll bring in Torin Dorn as the nickel back. 2nd down and 8 for Green Bay, and the pitch is to Edgar Bennett. And Bennett gets up to about the 25-yard line before he's brought down by Nolan Harrison.
I think it's going to be an interesting contrast in this game between Favre and Hostetler. Here you have 2 quarterbacks, one of them an older guy that's very precise, throws very few interceptions. And actually the criticism, you know, of Favre is the fact that he's thrown 20 interceptions and turned the ball over. So it's going to be important for him to play very smart today, and it's going to be very important for him not to turn the ball over.
3rd down and 5 as you look at the numbers for Brett Favre. Good completion rate at over 61%. And he'll pass on the 3rd down. And this one complete to Darrell Thompson. Thompson pretty much no gain there. Maybe got a yard, but that will bring up 4th down and the punting unit for Green Bay. Brian Wagner will come on to punt it away.
This is a gamble, this kind of a call, because it's a screen and you have one man in the route, Dan. In this case, it's just one guy that Favre has a chance to throw to. In this case, an underscreen. And the Raiders, in this case, were playing man-to-man, went right with them and made the tackle. And you'd like to have a zone defense when you have that call and have the Raiders drop him back and get your lineman in front of your back.
Well, there is Tim Brown for the Los Angeles Raiders, the all-time punt return leader for Los Angeles, and has a chance at the 39. Gets some blocks set about the 45 and gets it up to the 49-yard line, where the Raiders will have their 2nd offensive series. Opening moments at Lambeau Field. We are scoreless. Sellout at Lambeau Field, almost 60,000 here, braving the temperatures. 0 degrees at kickoff, -18 wind chill, and I guess when it's this cold, Joe, you
that was Ditka. Wasn't that Ditka? Oh, no. Okay.
You're got to be as creative as you possibly can. The coldest game, of course, in Lambeau Field history back in 1967, the Ice Bowl. It was -35 degrees back in 1990, so this would go down as the 3rd coldest game in the history of Lambeau Field, which has been here for 37 years. 1st down and 10. Hostetler's pass is knocked down at the line of scrimmage by Reggie White.
You know, Reggie, they'll be moving him all over the place. Of course, one of the keys and the big story in the offseason with free agency, and certainly I think in this case, Green Bay got their money's worth. I don't care what they pay this guy, he's worth it. Here he is, really kind of stopped on the pass rush, comes back around and bats the ball down. You know, all those years, Dan, I was on that sideline. I used to fake it and say, hey, guys, come on out there, Redskin weather. I'll tell you what, many times I'm standing there going, I am freezing to death. How are they doing this?
2nd and 10 for the Raiders. Dumps it over the middle to Tim Brown, looking for the 40-yard line. Needed to get to about inside the 41 for the 1st down, and Tim Brown is very close. Brought down by Johnny Holland, along with help from Reggie White.
That's a good example of his hustle. Reggie White, in that case, was rushing the passer. The ball's dropped. This guy never says quit. Turns around, and watch him come all the way back in here and get on the tackle. That's the kind of heart this guy has. And that's what he has a way of exuding to the rest of the players.
Reggie White turned 32 years old last Sunday. And indeed a 1st and 10 for the Raiders from the Packer 40. And this is Nick Bell. And Nick Bell may have gotten a yard, but that is all. And we've mentioned the depleted running game of the Los Angeles Raiders. Nick Bell, now the featured back, the starter. The leading rusher, rookie Greg Robinson, out after knee surgery to repair torn cartilage he suffered 3 weeks ago in Buffalo. And so without Robinson, Nick Bell has been pressed into service. And this is a man that has been injured, has missed 6 games this year, so it's been a slow start for Nick Bell in the starting role.
Yeah, I sense the Raiders would like to show some running game. And we talked to some of their offensive linemen, and they said they're taking bigger splits today to try and get a running game going.
Hostetler to pass. Looking downfield, and this one in the vicinity of Alexander Wright.
Basically, Dan, what they were trying to say, the offensive linemen, they felt like they've been tightening their splits up, and what they were going to do for this game is try and take a wider split, and with the field being as slick as it is, just kind of come off and zone block a lot today to try and get the running game going. So far, though, they've had very little success with it.
And Alexander Wright not having a chance at all at that, so that'll bring up 3rd down and 10 for Los Angeles. The ball at the 40-yard line of Green Bay. The kind of situation the Raiders wanted to be in. 3rd and long, a flag on the play as Hostetler was pressured. A pass intended for Bell out of the backfield, and Hostetler hitting that frozen tundra very hard at about the 45.
We were talking to Art Shell last night, and he was saying that, you know, we talked about, hey, you're not being able to rush the football very well. Let's listen to the call here. The referee's also frozen up, Dan.
Perhaps the microphone of Ron Blum is frozen, so we can't hear exactly what the indication was, but here's another look at Hostetler.
Excellent pass rush, and you see the pressure here by Green Bay. When we talked last night to Art Shell, he was saying, hey, if we can't run, Haas can get it done for us. I think they have real confidence in him, but they're putting a lot of pressure on Hostetler today, I think.
So the penalty against Green Bay brings up 3rd down and 5. And Hostetler's pass just over the outstretched arms of James Jett. Incomplete. That will bring up 4th down, and once again, Gossett will come on to punt it away for the Raiders.
Hostetler just trying to hit a quick post route here to the outside. That's a timing route. In other words, the quarterback goes back just for 5 steps, hits Dan, and explodes that ball to the post. Could be a big gainer, but in this case, the ball's high.
So Gossett will stand at midfield, and back once again is Mike Pryor, who had an excellent game last week, filling in for the injured Robert Brooks. He had 4 punt returns for 50 yards last week. Gossett angling it toward the right side, and this time getting the kind of action he'd hoped for in his first punt. That will be down at the 4-yard line. So Green Bay will begin deep inside its territory when we come back.
On NBC is brought to you by Rayovac Renewal, reusable alkaline power. That's the power of renewal. By Pepsi, who reminds you to be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. By the U.S. Army, learn how to get an edge on life. Be all you can be. And by American Honda, who has been making quality cars in America for the past 11 years.
Dan Hicks and Joe Gibbs back at storied Lambeau Field. The Cheeseheads are up, and Sterling Sharp, not only does he need 1 catch to become the only player in NFL history with 2 100-catch seasons, 1 catch will also get him 2nd place in the team history leading receiver department for Green Bay. As the Packers begin from the 4-yard line, Brett Favre on the run and just trying to get rid of it. He does so, intended for Sterling Sharp, but Brett Favre was pressured by Nolan Harrison, the right tackle for Los Angeles.
The route here on the outside, as we see, really is kind of a broken route because the quarterback scrambles out of the pocket here, something that Favre has a good ability at doing. When I was talking to Mike Holmgren last night, he made the point, Dan, he said, I need that kind of quarterback with the 49er type style offense. I need somebody that can move around like a Joe Montana, and this guy can do it. He likes him a lot.
13-year veteran Howie Long on 2nd down and 10 for Green Bay. They'll keep it on the ground, and this is Edgar Bennett. And Bennett fighting his way up to about the 9-yard line before he's met by Winston Moss of the Raiders.
I think what Favre is going through here in this town now, Dan, is 2 years. The honeymoon's kind of worn off, and the fans have seen him make a few mistakes. And all quarterbacks have to go through that. There comes a point where everybody starts getting on them. They got to adjust to that and be able to handle that. And I think he's going through that right now. And talking to Holmgren last night, he said he's dealing with it. This kid has a great arm, can do all the things you want him to do, and he's having to deal with that kind of pressure now.
Well, there is Brett Favre, who last year had a spectacular all-time best for Packer, 64+ percentage rate, and this is the pass out of the backfield to Edgar Bennett, and Bennett has the first down up to the 23-yard line for Green Bay. So we haven't seen Sterling Sharp yet, but the pass to Edgar Bennett there picks up the Packer first down.
What's so amazing about Sterling Sharp is that everybody on the defense also knows that Favre's going to be looking for him. As we see here, just a little flat route really to the back. A heck of a job by Favre just getting that thing off, a little pressure, getting it off over the top.
Edgar Bennett, the second leading receiver behind Sharp on this team, also the third among NFC running backs. That is the 50th reception for Edgar Bennett on the year, a first down and 10. The Packers operating from the 23. Favre was looking for Sharp. He wasn't open, so Favre will scramble and is close to another first down across the 30 to the 32.
Now that's a heck of a play, and in the past, what's been happening when you talk to Coach Holmgren, he says, you know, Brett just throws too many interceptions this year. This is a great play. Your quarterback has to make a great play when there's nothing there. Many times the quarterback's best plays are these kind of plays right here. He didn't make a mistake by throwing the ball into a crowd when everything's covered. He pulls it down and runs with it. And you can always overcome a sack, and certainly in this case he made yards, but you can't overcome interceptions.
Well, two fine scrambling quarterbacks on the field today. Jeff Hostetler and Brett Favre. Favre 194 yards rushing coming in. This on the ground to Edgar Bennett. He is met by Chester McLaughlin. As we look at some of the other scores around the NFL, a big one that the folks in Lambeau Field here are watching, Chicago and Detroit. The Bears lead it 7-0 in the first. So a Packer win here today and loss by the Lions, and the Packers are in the playoffs. In the playoffs for the first time in 21 years.
That blows my mind. It really does. You always think of Green Bay having such a great tradition and everything, but 21 years, that's unbelievable.
So first and 10 from the 34. And Favre's pass intended for Ed West, the tight end, and a flag on the play. It was Joe Kelly who was all over Ed West.
Yeah, I think we could see that very easily from up here. I'm surprised it took that long to throw the flag.
And indeed, the indication against the Raiders, who are on the verge of setting a new NFL record for penalties.
You actually get a little pressure here. Favre does put the ball the only place the tight end could get that back to the inside.
Defense, Stuck Bell, first down.
Well, the Raiders are 14 penalties and 168 yards away from breaking NFL records in both categories.
Yeah, and as we talked to Art Shell, he said, hey, I think everybody's got the attitude that we're tough. They get tough when the teams that play them come to town, and so it becomes a physical battle, and everybody looks at the Raiders as being guys that gives a lot of penalties, and it carries over.
Flagged 12 times for over 100 yards last week. Darrell Thompson gets the call on first and 10, and let's take our first visit to our New York studios, the warm studios in Jim Lampley.
And Dan, in the icebox in Buffalo, Thurman Thomas off the opening drive gets credit for a 2-yard touchdown run, but should it have been a touchdown? See Thomas bobble the ball as he crosses the goal line in front of the Jets linebacker. As Jets players signaled the touchback, an official stepped in and called TD. 7-0 Buffalo. Back to Dan.
All right, Jim, we understand the coldest day ever for a football game in Buffalo, and 0 degrees, minus 18 wind chill factor here. 2nd and 8. Favre has Sterling Sharp, and Sterling Sharp has the record. Catch number 100 for Sterling Sharp, the first player in NFL history to have 2 100-catch seasons, and they will stop the game for a moment or two to honor Sterling Sharp and give him the game ball.
I had experience like this, Dan, with Art Monk. 2 similar type guys here, Art Monk, and we stopped the game and gave him the ball 106 catches. Can you believe it, though, that this guy is going to do it back-to-back, over 100 catches? That is an amazing accomplishment, and certainly he deserves everything that he gets today. And like I said, this team is not loaded with talented receivers from the standpoint the other team knows they're going to be looking for Sterling. What's he get it on? A fade route. A heck of a throw here by Favre, getting the ball up over the top. It's just press coverage with a fade.
So the historic catch by Sharp sets up the Packers at the 35, and Edgar Bennett gets the 1st and 10 call. And a lot of milestones being racked up by Sterling Sharp. Not only does he become the first to grab 100 in 2 seasons, he set the NFL record, of course, last year with 108 catches, and he has a chance to break that record as well, on pace to pass 108 catches that he made last year. As you look at the all-time leading receivers, 4 1,000-yard seasons also for Sterling Sharp. 2nd down and 6 for the Packers. Little bootleg by Favre, rolling to his right, wanted Mark Chumera, the tight end, and incomplete.
As we look at the record, you're going to see that really the Raiders and their style of play is pressed on the outside. That's what they're doing. They're pressing Sterling Sharp. He does a good job of getting around the cornerback. Favre puts it up over the top. That's the kind of throw that you need against press coverage. A little change up here by Green Bay on the last play. They went with 2 tight ends, and they tried to run the ball a couple times with that. In that case, they tried to go with a little bootleg and dump the ball off and just drop it.
The Green Bay Packers trying to make the playoffs for the first time in 21 years in a non-strike season. 3rd down and 5 from the 30. Favre, pass over the middle, incomplete. It was intended for Robert Brooks. Incomplete. Brooks, recovering from a separated left shoulder, has missed a couple of games and is back in the lineup for Mike Holmgren. But that will bring up 4th down.
It was interesting. I was asking Mike, how does your family adjust coming from California back to this kind of weather? He's got 4 girls. He said, man, they actually love it back here. 2 of his girls were going to school back in this area anyway, and that fit in great. But I said, it's got to be tough bringing 4 girls from California back to this kind of weather. He said, not at all. We love it back here. And, of course, what a great job he's done in the 2 years here and getting ready to put them back, it looks like, with 2 winning seasons back-to-back. What an accomplishment for a young coach.
Brian Wagner to come into punt. Tim Brown will watch this angle over his head, and the Packers fall on it at about the 13-yard line. So Los Angeles will set up at the 13 when we come back. Frigid Lambeau Field in Green Bay. Joe, I believe I saw you modeling the same headgear on NFL Live today.
That's the end look right there today.
Just the 7th regular season meeting between the Packers and the Raiders, and believe it or not, the Raiders are 3-0 here, and Art Shell told us last night that, you know, you may believe that the Raiders would have a tough time coming in here, the cold weather, a Southern California team, but it's really the opposite.
Yeah, they've actually played 4 cold weather games and they're 3-1 in those. You could tell he was kind of selling his players, hey, we've already been in cold weather.
And this is Nick Bell, the 1st down carry, gets some good yardage up the middle, and let's head back to New York and check in with Jim Lampley.
Take a look at the Parcells Pats, Dan, in search of a 3rd straight win. 44 opening drive rush yards for Leonard Russell. He takes it in from 2 yards out. Pats' first TD on the opening drive all year. And they lead Indianapolis 7-0. Back to Dan and Joe.
All right, Jim, a swift-moving first quarter here. 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. And the Raiders once again on the ground. This is Nick Bell, and Nick Bell stopped just across the 20-yard line by Tony Bennett. Bennett, the sack leader the last couple of years for Green Bay, has just 4 sacks so far this year, though.
Yeah, this is a little counterplay with Nick Bell. Now, what you're going to see, it comes down to times just like this, Dan. Games boil down to key plays. 3rd down normally is the key. 3rd down 2 to 6 area. This is 3rd down and 1. They got to get this running. If they're going to win ball games in this kind of weather and go into the playoffs, they need to get this. The Raiders do right here.
Raiders with the 3rd worst rushing attack in the NFL. But they passed their way to 3 straight wins, and Hostetler trying to pass it here will go down at the 11-yard line. It was Johnny Holland and John Yurkovich that sacked Jeff Hostetler.
And I think that's what happens. You know, instead of running for a 3rd down and a yard and a half, which the Raiders, you know, tough physical football team, they're having to resort to the pass. I don't think they have the confidence in the run. And, of course, that comes back to haunt you on a day like this, on a field like this, when you need to take that ball and pound it on 3rd and 1.5 and get it.
So Gossett stands at the 6, and it is Mike Pryor at his own 42. Low spiraling punt taken by Pryor at the 44. Slips and falls and gets knocked at the 49, but an extra effort gets him into the Raider territory at about the 47. So Green Bay with another chance. We'll be right back. Now let's take a look at the natural gas quarterback efficiency ratings. Steve Young of San Francisco leading the way, but the 49ers with a tough loss to Houston yesterday. Jeff Hostetler of the Raiders 8th, and Brett Favre 17th with a 74.1 rating. A much different season for the third-year player out of Southern Miss. All-Pro last year with a team record completion rate of plus 64%. But how quickly things can change, Joe Gibbs. The 20 interceptions, he's been criticized this year.
Yeah, he's been criticized in town. That's going to happen to a quarterback. He's got to get used to that because that's going to happen to all quarterbacks in this league.
Favre looking for Sharp, overthrows him, and behind Sharp was Terry McDaniel, who had a chance at an interception. Let's go back to New York and rejoin Jim Lampley.
And as you guys relax in balmy Green Bay, you can be happy that you are not in snowy Buffalo. But Johnny Johnson feels all right, celebrating his new 2-year, $5 million contract with this 24-yard screen pass catch and touchdown from Boomer Esiason. Jets' first TD pass in 22 quarters, 7-7. Dan?
Well, I don't know about balmy Green Bay, Jim, but
Balmy?
second down and 10 for the Packers. Favre to pass again, and this out of the backfield, intended for Darrell Thompson. Howie Long was right in Brett Favre's face on that play.
Howie Long, I coached this guy in the Pro Bowl a number of years back. This is one of the, over year in and year out, this is also one of the best defensive linemen in the league. I'm sure he's excited to be on the field with Reggie White getting all the attention he does. This guy right here has been around a long time. Also, I might add, my wife, we were to go over in Hawaii. She says he also has one of the best bodies she's ever seen.
Been better than yours, Joe.
A little better.
Third down and 10. Favre looking over the middle for Robert Brooks, incomplete. So both teams having difficulty with any sustained drives. So the Packers will punt it away once again. Brian Wagner comes onto the field for Mike Holmgren. Holmgren in his second year for Green Bay, coming off last year's record of 9-7 as the Packers just missed the playoffs. And Holmgren becoming the third coach in the 74-year history of the organization to have a winning season. So a big year by Holmgren last year in his debut, and looking for the ultimate playoff berth this year. And a very poor punt as Tim Brown has to come up to the 25, never even got a shot at it, and it's out of bounds at the 26, so not a good punt at all by Brian Wagner. Well, New Year's Day, don't miss Championship Saturday, when we'll be here to bring you an entire day of college football action beginning at 1 Eastern time. The IBM OS2 Fiesta Bowl kicks things off with number 10 Miami taking on 16th ranked Arizona, the number 4 Notre Dame, and Texas A&M in the Mobile Cotton Bowl. Finally, the national championship game. Nebraska takes on second ranked Florida State in the Federal Express Orange Bowl. Championship Saturday beginning at 1 Eastern time. Don't miss it.
I think Wagner's punt, that was caused for the fact he was trying to sideline kick. Those are very hard to do, Dan, and he got it off the side of his foot.
So the Raiders begin at the 25, and this is Nick Bell, who gets 4 yards up to the 29-yard line. The 17 yards rushing last week by the Raiders, their lowest output since moving to Los Angeles 12 years ago. A season low, so the rushing attack really hit rock bottom.
A little draw play here, and you see a good pursuit by all the Packers getting to the ball. Going back to that punt, Dan, I always was much in favor of a pooch punt in the middle of the field where you don't get those sideline kicks like that and get them out of bounds. Those are very hard to execute, particularly on a day like this. I'd rather see a pooch punt in the middle of the field and drop it down on the 10-yard line or inside the 20 in the middle of the field. Don't try and get it to the sideline.
Hostetler needs 7 on second down. Tim Brown will be short at the 36. And Tim Brown is brought down by the nose tackle, John Yurkovich.
Reggie White is going to get doubled all day long. Now watch the way they pick on him here. Everybody recognizing where he is. Look, two guys picking out Reggie. I was talking to Johnny Holland. He says, hey, I love that. I'm making all the plays at linebacker because they're killing Reggie White. They got 2 and 3 people on him. He sees that all year long, having that kind of a reputation. That's a tough job, and I know Reggie's a little frustrated by not getting the sacks and things he's accustomed to.
Third down, less than a yard, and we get our first look at Napoleon McCallum, who picks up the first down for the Raiders. And Napoleon McCallum back for the second game since an appendectomy a month ago.
Yeah, you talked about a guy. This is a heck of a run because actually Green Bay has good pressure in the backfield. But this is a heck of a run by Napoleon. We were talking to him and said, you know, that's kind of unusual, isn't it, to play 3 weeks after an appendectomy. And I said, he said, well, the doctor just kind of separated everything in there. He didn't cut it all, and said, then he stapled it back. And I went, what? Stapled it? He goes, yeah, I just stapled it, just like you staple a piece of paper. And says, once he got the staples out, he felt great.
Well, the end of the first quarter, and you might imagine with the wind chill factor at -18, not a lot of offense. The Raiders and Packers scoreless. First quarter statistics pretty even, Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, well, it's even, and nobody's doing anything so far. The defenses are dominating.
Raiders will try to take advantage of this field position. They're at the 38-yard line. Hostetler just throwing it up for James Jett. And Jett really didn't have a shot at it as Tony Bennett was providing the pressure on Brett Favre.
Actually, what we saw here was a shift right before the snap of the ball, and Reggie White, in this case, and they do move Reggie all over the place, a late shift and put him right over the center. And if we take a look at Reggie, right in this position right here over the center, he shifted in late. He came in that position. They covered both guards, trying to get pressure with him going up the middle. So that's an example of moving Reggie White all over the place to try and keep him from getting doubled, Dan.
And the incompletion bringing up 2nd down and 10. Hostetler with time this time, and he's got James Jett, and Jett with the first down in the Packer territory, close to the 45-yard line. Wayne Simmons along with Roland Mitchell on the stop for Green Bay.
Hostetler has definitely been brought along the right way. When you play in New York with the Giants, this guy's had a lot of practice in bad weather. This is simply just a little curl route. Both receivers turning inside, very effective on zone. And that's what the Packers were caught in there. But Hostetler, I've been up to New York with 50-mile-an-hour winds in our face. This guy is practicing it year in and year out. I had quarterbacks like Joe Theismann. They're just good in bad weather. This is one of the quarterbacks that's good in bad weather right here. Jeff Hostetler.
And they'll keep it on the ground, and this time it is Tyrone Montgomery getting his first carry of the game. And we talked to Art Shell last night, and he said we'd see more of the undrafted free agent from Ole Miss, and Montgomery picks up a couple, and Johnny Holland on the stop for Green Bay.
Talked to Johnny Holland for a long time yesterday, and he was the one telling us that that's a heck of a play there. He said, I love the fact that Reggie White's up there in front of me. He gets so much attention, and he keeps everything off of me, and he actually had 17 tackles 2 weeks ago.
A career high for Johnny Holland, who leads the team with a total of 119, 2nd down and 8.
There's Reggie White shifting back to the nose man again.
The pass by Hostetler is intercepted. George Teague with some running room on the far side. And finally brought down by the Raiders at the 42. Reggie White provided the pressure, and the rookie out of Alabama picks off Jeff Hostetler, and Hostetler's first interception in 4 games.
Here's the interception again, but the guy that causes that is that same defense where they shifted Reggie White late over the nose man and then blitzed with him. And Reggie came up the middle and put the pressure on Hostetler, and I think caused that interception, Dan.
The first career interception for George Teague.
Here you see Reggie going right up the middle. You see him making contact on the quarterback. And I think the fact they combined that with the blitz this time made it tough for the Raiders to pick up.
And a nifty 21-yard interception return for the rookie out of Alabama. This is Darrell Thompson, and he is nowhere and probably lost a yard. Anthony Smith, the fourth-year former #1 pick out of Arizona, brings him down for the loss.
Now, we had showed Reggie shifting in there on a previous play. It shows you with him lined up right over the center. That's what happens when you can't double Reggie White right there. It was a late shift. They couldn't get two guys on him. That's why everybody tries to double him. He's the best in the league at overpower. This guy weighs 295 pounds and runs 4.6. I've seen him pick off balls and come running by me on the sideline against us, and I said, man, our backs can't run that fast.
Well, he says, Joe, that he's playing better now than even in his 21-sack year back in 1987. Favre on the run and dragged down by Howie Long. The 6th sack of the season for the 13-year veteran out of Villanova.
Well, Reggie White makes a play. Howie Long comes back and makes a play. We're seeing two of the premier linemen in the league, and you're seeing them go after it here today, and the defenses are dominating so far.
That is the 84th sack of Howie Long's career, and that is 5th among active players.
This guy gets off the ball so fast, Dan. Sometimes we think he's offside when you're standing on the sidelines. We complain to the referees. You get the film out, and he's right on the ball. So
all of a sudden, 3rd down and 19. The ball squarely at midfield. Favre with a quick chance across the middle, looking for Robert Brooks. That is incomplete. And the boos cascading here at Lambeau Field as the Pack will punt it away on 4th and 19.
You don't like to see, if you're Mike Holmgren, the fact that Green Bay has had several good field position chances here and have not done anything with it. You don't like to see that.
So Brian Wagner will punt away for the 4th time. Tim Brown, hands in the hand warmer, waiting at the 15. And an excellent punt by Wagner. Brown calling for the fair catch at the 11. So Los Angeles will begin there when we come back. Scoreless, 11:47 left in the first half. Playoff picture in the AFC. The Los Angeles Raiders at 9-5 are in the playoffs if they win their final 2 games. They don't even want to think about what could happen if they lose one of their final 2 games, because their conference record is not very good at 6-5. Meanwhile, the Green Bay Packers in the NFC are still alive for the Central Division title. Green Bay, if they win their last 2, they will win the NFC Central. They can also gain a playoff berth today with a win and some help. And it's amazing, Joe Gibbs, how those palm trees just sprout up in this weather at Lambeau Field.
How do they do that?
Fumble by Nick Bell. And it appears the Raiders recovered.
I don't think Bell really got the ball there on the exchange. It was a bad exchange. I tell you what, that is dangerous right there. A turnover on the 10. That could be big.
It looked like the tight end, Ethan Horton, recovered the fumble by Bell.
Yeah, he actually had the ball. Good pocket there. It was great camera work. We see the ball just kind of scored out when he got that line of scrimmage.
Well, no loss on the play, and that'll bring up 2nd down and 10. The ball at the 12-yard line. Scoreless game, 11 minutes left in the first half. Hostetler's pass complete to Nick Bell. No, they're saying it was incomplete. And Bell was really popped by George Teague, who just a moment ago picked up an interception.
You get a feeling in talking to the Raiders, Dan, that as we look at the replay here, that they feel like that the league somehow gets them in cold weather about this time of year every year. And certainly we think back to the Pittsburgh games with the Raiders and when John Madden was there and games like that. So there is a little bit of a tradition of that. And I was talking to Al Davis because it's not fair. So I don't think it's fair that we wind up in some of these places at the end of the year every year. And what's really tough for them is coming west coast to the east. They're actually playing at 10 o'clock their time.
3rd and 10. Hostetler pressured, and he'll go down by John Yurkovich. The 4th sack of the year by the second-year man out of Eastern Illinois, a man that was undrafted and is having a spectacular season. And the Haas gave him a little ride.
Yeah, you see the pressure here, and again, up inside is where they're getting pressure on Hostetler. Now I'm telling you that Green Bay needs to take advantage of this field position. Chance are going to get the ball again here. They're passing up a lot of opportunities in the first half.
Jeff Gossett from 5 yards deep in his end zone. Hangs one Mike Pryor's way, and he'll begin at the 44, and an excellent return all the way up to about the 33, so an 11-yard punt return, and the Raiders indicating that they have the football.
I think they're saying it was a fumble at the end of that play. It was very hard to see, but all the players certainly think it is.
Joe Kelly emerged from the pile with a football. The 37-yard punt by Gossett.
We have a huddle by the referees this time.
And now the Raiders have the football.
The ball is ruled a fumble, recovered by Los Angeles.
So indeed a fumble by Mike Pryor, and the Raiders have it in pretty good field position at the 34.
What a turn of events here. We'll take a look and see if we can see the ball come out. It's really hard to see from this angle.
Indeed, the ball popped loose from Mike Pryor, so the Raiders with another chance when we come back.
He is brought to you by Starter, authentic apparel and headwear of the NFL. By Mazda, it just feels right. By McDonald's, what you want is what you get at McDonald's today. And by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold.
Well, let's take another look, and it turns out that the hit was made by Dan Turk, number 67, on Mike Pryor.
And you can actually see him laying on the ground, and all of a sudden he turns around and the ball's there. It's a Christmas present.
Yeah, the local boy, Dan Turk, in his 9th year out of Wisconsin. The 4th-round pick of the Steelers back in 1985, as Nick Bell gets the carry on 1st and 10 for Los Angeles.
Still not making much rushing, but you know, we were talking to Art Shell and we said, Art, what'd you do about Christmas? He said, hey, look, we're going to get our Christmas presents today, meaning today in this game. I think they just got one, by the way. But he said, hey, in a football player and coach's life, there's not a lot of room for Christmas. You're traveling. And but he said, hey, I sold our guys on the fact, hey, we get our Christmas present today, a victory over Green Bay.
He also told us that he feels the Raiders had better preparation for this cold weather weekend because they were able to get some good practices in the balmy weather. And Hostetler trying to call a timeout before the play clock expired, but he is very frustrated. He's been frustrated about the move from 45 seconds to 40 all year long.
We've been talking about that, Dan, and we said it hurts the offense, and he verified that last night, and he said, I don't have time to audible. Now, what we're seeing here is that shift again by Reggie White going inside that we talked about. Hostetler now wants to audible, but the clock is run down, and he said that's one of the things that's killing them, is with the 40-second clock, and we talked about that all year. I think it's hurt the offense.
Hostetler was able to get the timeout just before the play clock expired. He was looking for Ethan Horton, and an excellent defensive play by Leroy Butler, the strong safety for Green Bay, and the 4th-year player out of Florida State.
As we take a look at the route, the strong safeties many times in man-to-man coverage, but the Raiders play a lot in their contrasting style of play. A lot of times they're man-to-man. The strong safety, in this case, Leroy Butler, will normally be assigned to tight end. He did a heck of a job there. And that ball was not crisply thrown, I don't think, either by Hostetler in that case, and allowed him to slap the ball down.
Those 6 interceptions for Butler, second in the NFC, trailing Deion Sanders of Atlanta. 3rd down and 9. Hostetler looking to go to the air, wobbling right in and out of the hands of Butler, who had an excellent shot at interception number 7. But Hostetler feeling the heat once again from the Packer defensive front. Jurkovic putting the pressure on Hostetler.
Yeah, we take a look at this ball. Again, the pressure inside is what's causing Hostetler to throw off balance here. You can see he didn't get everything on that, Dan. That thing came down like a punt. I guess that's the reason why secondary guys play secondary. They don't have great hands in that case. That's what we always said. They're fast. They can do all those things. They can't catch the ball as receivers, so let's put them as DBs.
So once again, Art Shell's offense forced to punt. Gossett to put it in the air for the 5th time. This is a low line driver. And Mike Pryor all the way to the far side of the field watches it go out of bounds close to the 20. So Green Bay will have another chance on offense when we come back. Scoreless, 9 minutes left. Well, somewhere in the vicinity of all the winter clothing there on the Packers sidelines is a heater. There it is. We just saw the flames flickering out from underneath there, Joe. We could use one up here in the booth.
Yes, we could.
Packers 1st and 10, just shy of the 20, and Favre will go down. The sack made by Nolan Harrison. And for Nolan Harrison, his 3rd sack of the season.
Dan, we brought a football team up here. It's one of the coldest days I've ever been in. Doug Williams was our quarterback. He'd never been any place but Louisiana, Tampa, and Phoenix in his career. We brought him up here, and luckily he was our backup quarterback. It would have taken a crowbar to get him off that heater. He was over there all day, and I said, man, if that guy's got to play, we're in trouble. Thank goodness Jay Schrader played, and we did win the game 10-7.
Loss of 5 on the sack by Nolan Harrison. 2nd and 15, 5 to the air. And he's got Sterling Sharp. Sterling Sharp looking for the first down marker. He'll be shy of it. And that'll bring up 3rd down and 1. Derek Hoskins, the strong safety, made the stop.
You get the feeling the farther we go, the quarterbacks are going to be the key here because neither team's run the ball very well. This is that little stop route on the outside. Good timing by Favre in this case with Sharp and bangs it there. It's hard to stop if you're in zone. We've seen both teams use it today.
Sterling Sharp, we mentioned, and saw the historic catch. Another milestone added to his resume as he's now extended the Packer record, 86 straight games with a reception. They were trying to go to him again, and Sterling Sharp did not like the coverage applied by Joe Kelly of the Raiders. And that will bring up 4th down and another punt.
Very short yardage back to both teams having a tough time on 3rd down and 1 and 2s in this case. Yeah, I would have complained about this too. They're holding him. They actually tackle him before the ball gets there. I can't believe that we missed that.
Actually, it was Winston Moss that was all over the back of Sterling Sharp. And once again, Wagner, this time from the 15. This is becoming a familiar scene. Line drive punt. Tim Brown from the 29. And Brown will get up to the 33. A 4-yard return by Tim Brown and a 44-yard punt by Wagner. Well, next Sunday, NBC Sports presents the final weekend of the regular season. Doubleheader action beginning at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, NFL Live, and then most of you will see an AFC West matchup between the Seahawks and the Chiefs, or regional action. And in the second half of the doubleheader, most of you will see these Los Angeles Raiders battle the Denver Broncos, or regional actions. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area.
I told that little story about Doug Williams being so cold. First time up here, it's amazing the way players adjust that, Dan, over a period of time. He came back and played some great games in cold weather later on.
Raiders from the 32. Hostetler just throwing it away. Napoleon McCallum was the original intended target, but Hostetler clearly just throwing that away. And once again, Reggie White in on the pressure of Hostetler.
Well, actually, I think you're going to see Reggie start upfield. Now, this time he was playing on the outside, but you see him again double, this time by a lineman and also a back. Reggie still kind of winds up pressuring Hostetler. And there's the new rule, Dan, where the quarterback, and I think it's a good one, when he's outside the pocket like that, in that case, to protect himself, he can simply throw the ball away without worrying about a penalty.
2nd down and 10, ball at the 32. Hostetler hurried already 5 times today by the Packer defensive line. Pump fake buys him some time, and Hostetler escapes for the moment, but Reggie White sacked him.
Both defenses are dominating. And we've seen both lines make excellent plays. Howie Long for the Raiders, and now Reggie White, his buddy, several times. Here's the pressure up the middle. The real good pass rusher is relentless. He never stops, and that's what you see there, Dan. The guys with that kind of heart that never know when to quit, those are the guys that eventually get sacks. You rarely get them on the first move.
11.5 sacks for Reggie White. He became the all-time NFL sack leader earlier this year versus the Chicago Bears. 3rd and 19 for the Raiders. Hostetler trying to dump it over to the middle for Nick Bell, and that will bring up 4th down.
A little middle screen there was actually a very good call. I thought the Raiders would get called for holding there because they grabbed a couple of the Packer linemen in that case. But what's happening here without the rushing game by the Raiders, the Green Bay is really simply just rushing the passer and getting tremendous pressure on Hostetler. That's what happens when you don't get a good running game going. You see the screen was set up there fairly decently.
I tell you, there's no doubt why they're paying Reggie White $4.25 million a year. We're getting a good indication of that today in minus 18-degree wind chill as Mike Pryor escapes one Raider, and he'll go back across the field for a gain of maybe 1 on the return 45-yard punt by the Raiders. Coming up on the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report, Mike Ditka and Jim Lampley back in the
warm studio.
Toasty warm NFL studios, bringing you up to date on all the action that is underway, plus a bowl day preview of all the great college football matchups here on NBC on New Year's Day.
We talked about Reggie White. He not only brings the play on the field, Dan, but he brings, every time you talk to a player, he talks about his leadership in the locker room. That's something that's very important to a football team, and he certainly gives that to you.
Here are the Packers on the ground. Edgar Bennett gets the first down carry, and by the looks of things, Joe, unless somebody like a Sterling Sharp or one of the speedy receivers for the Raiders gets away, it's shaping up into a scoreless first half.
Yeah, I think what's happened here, both teams having a tough time moving the football. It makes them one-dimensional. Both these defenses, of course, are playing extremely well. The weather's also hurt the offenses, but without them rushing the football, either offense, we're getting into a defensive battle here. Somebody's going to make a big play here at some point.
First time that those two coaches have squared off. Holmgren and Art Shell, Brett Favre through the air, and he's got Edgar Bennett, and Bennett, I believe, picked up the first down all the way up to the 43. So something for the 59,000 here at Lambeau Field to cheer about, finally.
Really what happens here is just really a flat route with the downfield receivers clearing things out. Green Bay's had success several times just hitting a guy right along the line of scrimmage, a back along the line of scrimmage as the receivers clear everything out to the outside. It's a simple little pass, but they hit it several times today. Favre's done a good job of finding his back there, his secondary receiver.
Brett Favre trying to become the second Packer in history to post 2 3,000-yard passing seasons. You saw the numbers there. He came into the game just about 77 yards shy of the 3,000-yard mark. And if he gets that 77-yard total, he will become just the second Packer in history to do it. Lynn Dickey did it 3 times for Green Bay.
You get the feeling in talking to Mike Holmgren that he says that this guy's a little bit of a gunslinger. He says he takes some chances because he's got such a great arm, and if they can get him where he doesn't throw the interceptions and just uses all that natural talent, and of course that comes with just growing up a little bit. This guy's really only played 2 years. That's the other thing.
And they'll keep it on the ground. Darryl Thompson, and pretty much stopped for no gain. And if you saw the draft picks, quarterback-wise ahead of Brett Favre.
But that happens all the time with quarterbacks, Dan. You know, we see Joe Montana is a 3rd-round draft choice. Joe Theismann, quarterback that kind of kept me in a job for about 6 years, a 3rd-round quarterback. Some of these guys are drafted farther down, and we kind of made a history there with Washington of doing that. A 5th-rounder, Mark Rippon. Because it's hard to evaluate these guys in a pro atmosphere. You get them up here, you work with them over a period of time, and they mature and blossom.
3rd down and 9 for Favre, looking for Sterling Sharp, and a nice defensive play by Terry McDaniel. McDaniel coming off his first Pro Bowl last year, swatted that one away and forces the Packers to punt again. Terry McDaniel, the former #1 pick out of Tennessee, with a nice play.
Yeah, this is a good play on just a little simple slant route to the inside. What Favre was trying to do is to get the ball to him quick and let him run for it. The two things that you like to see in a quarterback when you talk to Mike Holmgren is what Favre has: toughness and smarts. That's what he's got. He also has a great arm. It's gonna really, this guy will blossom. It's going to just take time.
This game is quickly turned into a punting contest. Brian Wagner against Jeff Gossett. As you look at some of the other scores, the Bills ahead of the New York Jets 10-7. And we'll update the Chicago game. Detroit has taken a 10-7 lead. Jason Hansen's field goal has put the Lions up over the Bears. And, of course, the Packers here watching that score very, very closely, because if the Packers are able to win today and Detroit loses to Chicago, the Packers would be in the playoffs.
We've talked about some mentally tough football players. There's some mentally tough fans out here today. I want to tell you that, because I was out there for about 20 minutes shooting that little opening. I almost froze. I'm glad I'm up here where this thing's covered up. I like this better than being on the sideline.
1st and 10, Raiders from the 19, and the pass complete to the far side. This is the tight end, Ethan Horton. Actually, James Jett made the reception. And James Jett leads the NFL with more than 25 yards per catch. As you look at the numbers by Jett, who is the fastest of the wide receivers on the Raiders team, but really not the fastest of all on this Raiders team.
This thing is loaded. This team is loaded with great speed as outside receivers. When we talked about the Green Bay, what do you fear the most from the Raiders? The defensive players all said the speed of their outside receivers as they pick up the first down here. But that has been Al Davis's modus of operation from the very beginning. He loves speed on his outside receivers.
And there is a look at the speed. James Trapp is a cornerback, and he is the fastest, out-distancing all of those Raider wide receiver burners. The ball at the 29, 1st and 10 for the Raiders. Trying to get something going on offense. Napoleon McCallum trying to turn the corner, and he won't get far at all. Tony Bennett chased him out of bounds, along with Johnny Holland.
As we were talking, Alexander Wright winning the fastest man contest and everything, you know, you get the feeling as we talk to him that this team is loaded with speed. We were joking with that. We had Darrell Green with Washington. He won the fastest man a couple of times. I was kidding with Don Mosbar. I says, you know, we ought to have a, for you guys, 300-pounders.
The center for the Raiders, Mosbar.
We ought to have a wide body fastest man contest.
2nd down and 9 over the middle. The pass complete to Tim Brown. And Brown will be short. That'll bring up 3rd down for the Raiders.
I was thinking the rules would be, Dan, you have to be over 300 pounds, a lineman, okay, and we would have them sprint only 30 yards, and we'd have somebody sponsor it like Winnebago or Boeing, wide bodies, you know what I mean? And Don Mosbar lit up on that. He says, yeah, we ought to, and I think the fans would like it. We ought to get a right-in going here. We would love to have that. Wide body, fastest man.
You can conduct it on one of your NASCAR tracks, Joe, that you spend so much time at. 3rd down and about 4. Hostetler under pressure again, and he will go down at the 31. Jurkovic was there along with Tony Bennett. Johnny Holland also provided the pressure on Hostetler.
Again, it's tremendous pressure on Hostetler. Here you can see the field comes into play. He slips a little bit, doesn't get the ball off on time, and when he misses that timing, and you can't get the ball off when you sit back there at 7 steps, Dan, it gives that defense a chance for pressure, and they're getting tremendous pressure today. And again, I think they're concentrating on the pass rush. They know the Raiders are not really rushing the football.
And once again, Jeff Gossett's punt, a low line driver, fielded nicely by Pryor. Pryor across the 40, and Pryor gets it across midfield into Raider territory. And Jeff Gossett had to run him out of bounds at the 49. 40-yard punt and a nice 21-yard return by Pryor.
Hey, we saw the kicker. He actually got dirty there. He had to make a hit, and he got dirty. I like that. This is a pretty good hole here, I'll tell you. And you can see that's a pretty good shot right there. Not bad. Here's our kicker. Let's take a look at his form here.
195 pounds.
Well,
shot.
on second thought, from that angle, that was not exactly one of the best hits I've seen.
And the good thing, he gets to go back on the sidelines and throw on the coat and get by the heater. Meanwhile, the Packers at the 48. This is Darrell Thompson. Thompson picking up first down yardage. He's all the way down to the Raiders' 33. Harry Galbraith and Edgar Bennett with a couple of nice blocks to spring Thompson.
The first run that we've actually seen today by either team, and you see what happens here, it excites everybody, Dan. The fans, the crowd, the offensive linemen, they get excited when they're knocking people back and making yards. The physical part of the game is very important.
That was a 15-yard gain by Darrell Thompson. He has the team's longest run of the season, and that is 28 yards. Approaching the 2-minute warning of the first half. This is Darrell Thompson again, and he gets it up to the 30-yard line. But if the 28-yard run for the longest run of the year stands for Thompson, it would be the shortest, longest run in team history dating back to 1941. Welcome back to frigid Lambeau Field and scoreless game, but Joe Gibbs modeling the latest in cold weather gear here, Joe. I don't
This
think
can
this
go
is...
all the way up. I'm not really looking at the game anyway, but this is another version.
You mean the game isn't exactly the most exciting contest you've ever seen? A scoreless tie by Green Bay and Los Angeles?
Let's tell you, actually, it is a good defensive battle. Somebody's going to make a big play here to win the game.
You got an extra one of these that I can borrow?
Yeah, we're going to
All
get
right.
just a second.
Just a second.
Yeah.
We may not have time. And
I only got one right now.
minus 18-degree wind chill factor. Joe, I got a feeling you're going to keep that on for the rest of the game. 2-minute warning at storied, frigid Lambeau Field. Third coldest game on record. And the near 60,000 fans here that have braved it bundled up. Mentioned not much offense at all. This is Green Bay's deepest penetration in a while at the 30-yard line. Complete to Sterling Sharp, and Sharp with another first down. He is inside the 20.
Again, that little stop route, and whenever Green Bay's been able to catch the Raiders in zone coverage, you see the Raiders backing up here and opening these holes. You can see the lane that Favre's throwing through. And what happens is the receivers just hooking those zone holes in there. Very effective. I would look for the Raiders now to go to man-to-man coverage to take that away.
Interesting to note, Sterling Sharp has attained all these milestones. He's had a turf toe and tendonitis and left Achilles. It's been an injury-plagued season for him, but nevertheless, he shows up every Sunday, but really hasn't practiced much at all in the past month and a half or so. And I noticed also is not wearing any long sleeves in this weather, Joe. In fact, his socks are down near his ankles.
The similarities between him and Art Monk are amazing. Art Monk played at Purdue and, of course, was used to cold weather. He come out to practice with nothing on, but no underwear and sleeveless.
Well, a moment ago, I guess the socks were down. He's pulled them up. Now it is now.
Sterling also is a guy that's used to cold weather, I think, and they're mentally tough guys. And to tell you the truth, I used to like guys that we drafted from the cold weather climates because they were kind of battle tested, and particularly kickers. I thought that was always very important. Guys are used to big wind, bad weather. It gave them a little bit of an advantage, I think.
Well, there is Greg Townsend, the 11th year veteran. He's played in cold weather. Nolan Harrison, you saw him a moment ago, number 74, the right tackle.
Big plays right here for Green Bay. Big plays coming up.
Second down and 9. 5 wants to go to the air, and he's got Sterling Sharp. Another first down. Sharp trying to fight his way into the end zone, and Sharp is inside the 1. First and and goal for Green Bay.
That's the kind of play that Favre can give you, Dan. Now, he scrambled out of the pocket there and got pressure and got back outside and made a big play on the outside with his scrambling ability, and that's what Coach Holmgren told us. That's the kind of guy that he really needs and is used to working with.
Well, Sterling Sharp feels he got into the end zone.
Let's take a look at if we had instant replay. This would be something we could take a look at.
All you have to do is break the plane with the ball. Your body can even be outside there. Just put the ball over the goal line, and it's a touchdown. But this is Edgar Bennett, and he picks up the touchdown for Green Bay. The 8th touchdown of the season for Bennett. And the Packers finally put some points on the board at Lambeau Field.
We take a look at the goal line offense right here, and there's no doubt on this one on breaking the plane. He's all the way in there, 1.5 yards deep with the ball. And I think that they did it the right way there. The Packers, they ran the ball some, they took a couple of shots. It was a good little series there. And I know that they would have been sick to go into halftime with no points, considering the good field position they had several times. And that time they took advantage of it.
Excellent surge on the offensive line. Harry Galbraith, the unrestricted free agent from Miami, and Frank Winters, the center, who was taken over for the injured James Campen, also a part of the nice block which sprung Bennett. Chris Jackie's point after attempt is good, and Green Bay, with 1 minute and 1 second left in the first half, has taken a 7-0 lead. Packers trying to get into the playoffs in a non-strike season for the first time in 21 years, and Brett Favre says we finally got some points.
He likes it. It was a big play that he made by getting out of the pocket there, Dan. That was a broken play. Again, we've looked at quarterbacks today, and we said their biggest plays come when things blow up in their face. In that case, pressure up the middle. He scrambles out of the pocket, makes a big play out of something that could be a disaster. And that's what your quarterbacks do for you. Their biggest plays many times come when things are not smooth. Something goes wrong, and they take something that's going wrong and make something positive out of it. Your good quarterbacks have the ability to do that. Everybody can go back when everything's perfect and hit guys that are open. You need a guy that's the playmakers can make a play just like that, and I think that's what this young guy has.
Well, the big play was the 17-yard reception by Sterling Sharp, which got it inside the 1, and on the following play, Edgar Bennett's 1-yard run capped off a 6-play scoring drive, 1:37, and it totaled 48 yards. So we'll have a kick other than a punt, finally, as Chris Jackie just sends in a line drive to the 30-yard line. So with less than a minute left, the Raiders may have a chance to get into field goal position. As we look at the rest of the scores around the league, the Bills up, and the Lions at halftime now up 10-7 over Chicago.
Dan, what I think Green Bay was thinking there, they decided just to power kick that on the ground. They didn't want to run the risk with all the speed that the Raiders have of getting a big run back against them. But what they did in this case is put the Raiders in position to maybe have a shot at a field goal here with the last 57 seconds left.
Hostetler to Nick Bell. Bell fumbles the football, and the Packers have it. Doug Evans, the rookie out of Louisiana Tech, picks up the second fumble of the game by Nick Bell.
Yeah, I think Bell, in this case, has the ball squarely in his hands. For some reason, it just flat gets away from him. That ball right there is hard to hang on to. That thing is frozen and glazed over a little bit. It's hard to handle a ball like that. That's the reason why a lot of players are wearing gloves.
And I noticed there that Nick Bell does not have any gloves on, did not have any gloves at the time of that fumble, and now he heads to the sidelines, and Gerald Perry, the offensive lineman, consoling Nick Bell, who has given the Packers another chance here. The ball spotted at the 43, less than a minute left. Second turnover by the Raiders today. Favre swings it out. And this is Edgar Bennett. And Bennett all the way inside the 30. They're going to mark him at the 26.
And I'm not sure he wouldn't have gone a lot farther. The field frozen in that area right there. You see him lose his footing in that frozen part of the field right there. That could have been even a bigger play. Take a look at this little screen. See the fullback set up underneath like he's going to pass block, then slides out. It's an under screen. We've seen the Packers try and use it several times today, and you can see the loose footing there on the outside of the frozen part of the field. Probably cost, in this case, the Packers a chance to get way down inside the 20-yard line.
Well, the Packers have called a timeout. They have one left, and we'll remind you that at halftime we'll join Mike Ditka, Jim Lampley in our NFL Live. The NFL Live Domino's Pizza halftime report.
Here's the case where you see the offensive coordinator is Mike Holmgren, the head coach. You see him there trying to make up his mind what he's going to call. Very much like a Bill Walsh, or in my case, when I was calling the plays, you got people upstairs helping you, but it goes back on this guy's shoulders right here.
And is that
that's a tough job.
A little frost on Holmgren's mustache
I think it is.
Well, we've just been told by our producer slash weatherman, Terry Ewert, that the temperature is now -9 degrees, wind chill factor 2 degrees as a flag is thrown. And I would imagine if I'm Chris Jackie, the Packers field goal kicker, I'd want to get it in as close as possible on a day that you might not even be able to feel your foot, no matter how close you get to that heater.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also the holes, Dan, the snap and the holes, very tough on a day like this.
Encroachment, defense, 5 yards.
It was big Chester McLaughlin who picks up the encroachment penalty for the Raiders.
Now let's take a look and see if anybody on the offense moves. If they do, see it. You see him move, the center step out. That should have been on the offense.
That was
you can't do that.
Frank Winters reaching across the line and tapping Chester McLaughlin on top of the helmet. Favre's pass looking for Sharp. Incomplete.
Very ill-advised right there. That in this position right here, Favre should be looking for a field goal. Don't take a chance like that with a guy double covered and throw that ball up. That was dangerous. By the way, Dan, I don't think I've ever seen a center do that. Reach across and touch a guy. If I was the Raiders, I'd be upset on that deal.
Well, we want to clarify the weather situation. +2 degrees, -9 wind chill factor, as if we could tell.
Oh, +2. That is a big difference.
It's a big difference when it goes minus plus. I mean, you can really tell. Second down at 5 for the Packers. And unable to handle Brett Favre's dump is Edgar Bennett. And that will bring up third down.
Both teams doing a very good job of getting pressure. In this case, the Raiders have also had a lot of success right up the middle. In this case, bouncing Brett back on the ground. And this will be a big play right here, third down and 5. See if they can pick up a first down here with 31 seconds left on the clock.
There is Chris Jackie warming up on the sidelines. 31 seconds left in the first half. Green Bay already up 7-0, trying to add to that lead as Darrell Thompson gets inside the 20, close to the first down, but that will bring up fourth down for Green Bay.
Well, the fans are booing. They don't like the idea that they went with a run, but what they tried to do there is kind of gamble a little bit, catch the Raiders walked off with 4 wide receivers, and just pump that thing up inside for a first down. It was a good call. It's just that the Raiders were sharp and made a good play on it.
And Green Bay will let the clock run down, probably stop it with 2 seconds left. And they do use their final time out of the first half, and gives Chris Jackie even more time to keep warming up the leg on the sideline. So,
Dan, what you'd like to see, I would, as a coach on the sideline, I'd like to stop that clock at about 10 seconds or 9 seconds for this reason. If you get a bad snap or something, you can just tell your holder and you coach him just to go ahead and cover the ball up, and you would have another shot at a field goal. In this case, when you run it down to 2, it's just a very final one shot at a field goal.
And the high-tech ball holder on the sidelines enables Jackie to warm up without anybody even holding the football and get the feel of someone holding it.
It's a cobra.
That's probably frozen into the turf by now, that metal holder. Okay, they'll spot Jackie at the 27-yard line. It'll be a 37-yard attempt, and Chris Jackie has at least one field goal in 10 straight games. Thought that streak might be in danger, and it still might be. 37-yarder tough in weather like this.
It's tough snapping. It's tough holding. It's very tough to get a good plant foot on that frozen turf right here. That's a big deal right in this area. And the Raiders call a timeout there to try and put a little pressure on it.
Yes, the Raiders calling timeout to ice Chris Jackie as if he needs to be iced anymore. look at the holder Wagner doing some calisthenics out there. Actually, that's Chris Jackie doing the calisthenics out there. Mike Holmgren in his second year has a 7-0 lead over the Los Angeles Raiders. And talking about those shoes, Joe Gibbs.
That looks like a 1909 version that he's kicking with.
Looks like Jackie's borrowed one of Johnny Unitas's old black cleats.
We were talking about the different shoes. My bet is that right here, Chris Jackie's got on that little small cleated shoe that helps on the frozen surfaces.
Wagner, the hold is good. Chris Jackie's kick is no good. So as the gun sounds to end the first half, Chris Jackie unsuccessful from 37 yards out. Let's take another look at the hold by Wagner.
Actually did a pretty good job. The snap was a little low. We talked about that. That's no piece of cake, Dan. It's a hard to snap, hard to get a hold, hard to get a good kick, and in this case, Green Bay misses it.
Chris Jackie having his best season ever, but unable to connect there. Green Bay with a 7-0 lead over the Los Angeles Raiders at halftime. Let's send you back to New York, NFL Live Studios and Jim Lampley. You might imagine not a lot of offense with a -9 wind chill factor. The Packers out in front of the Raiders at halftime by a score of 7-0. Dan Hicks and Joe Gibbs back here at our toasty warm booth. Sterling Sharp really provided the only offensive highlights of the first half. He came up with the historic 100th reception in the first quarter, becoming the first NFL player to ever post 2 100-catch seasons, and here it is.
Yeah, it was really just a fade route. The Raiders chose to play man-to-man coverage, which they did. And in this case, he gets by him on the fade. Later on, they started playing a lot of zone, and he was catching balls with just a simple hook route in front of him.
And later on, he came up with a big 17-yard reception, what set up the only touchdown of the game, and enabled the Packers to get on top 7-0.
Well, we're getting a good look at his route here, but actually Brett Favre made this play. He had pressure up inside, scrambled outside. His athletic ability let him get outside, and he found Sterling on the outside out there. It's amazing. They know they're going to him with the ball, but this guy keeps catching balls.
And Sterling Sharp, with those 4 catches, brings his season total to 103. So he's 5 away from tying the record he set last year, the all-time NFL record, and 6 away from a breaker. So we'll watch that as this game goes along. And a look at the first half Coors Light halftime stats. Joe?
Well, I think really both offenses have been pretty much, under wraps. It's been hard for them to get anything going. And I think finally the Green Bay seems to get a real good drive going. They got a couple of good runs in there, made a couple of key plays. Favre scrambles out of the pocket. And I think that's the way this game's going to go. We're not going to have a big offensive production here by anybody. The defenses are dominating. And it's just who makes the key plays at the right time. I'd say that guy right there. I'd say that guy right there right now. He's got my vote for being player of the game.
And if you don't know who it is, it's Reggie White. Covered up, the number 92, and sporting the Joe Gibbs warm or cold weather mask underneath the helmet.
I think he wears that a little better than I do. That's the XL version to get him, Reggie, wrapped away in one.
And back deep to receive the kick from Jeff Jager is Corey Harris and Marcus Wilson. They stand back at the 4-yard line. 7-0 Green Bay at the end of the first half. The only touchdown, the Edgar Bennett 1-yard run coming off the Sterling Sharp 17-yard reception, what set it up. And this is Marcus Wilson who brings it out for Green Bay. And Green Bay will begin at the 26, 1st and 10. Brett Favre And the numbers for Brett Favre in the first half, he was 8 of 20 for 104 yards. So Brett Favre has indeed gone over the 3,000-yard passing mark and has become the second Packer in history to post 2 3,000-yard passing seasons. Ball just across the 25, and on first down, Favre to the air, and he is looking for Ed West, who makes the reception. And West brings it all the way down to the 41-yard line, but they're going to mark him down much shorter than that at midfield. 24-yard gain by the veteran Ed West.
This is a very tough throw to make. This is a seam route, right up the seam with the tight end. The quarterback's got to have good touch to get it up and over the line and get it down before the secondary has a chance to break on the ball. I tell you, that was a heck of a catch and a heck of a throw.
Ed West, the former starter before the emergence of Jackie Harris. Jackie Harris hurting his knee for the second time last week. This is Daryl Thompson, who might have lost a yard, and we'll take our first time out of the second half and head to New York and Jim Lampley.
Dan, here's a big event in Buffalo, paying off the opening drive of the second half. Boomer Esiason on the back line of the end zone. He hits former Bill Chris Burkett with the touchdown that puts the Jets in front of the Bills, 14-13 in the third. Back to Dan and Joe.
All right, Jim, not quite as much offense here at Lambeau Field. Opening moments of the third quarter, Green Bay with a 7-0 lead over Los Angeles. And the Packers, the ball squarely at midfield for them. Second down and 10. That is Sterling and Sharp in motion to the near side, and he catches the quick hitter from Favre and picks up the first down. He is inside the 40 of the Raiders. And a scuffle is broken out at the 30-yard line. I'll tell you, the Raiders were involved in a number of scuffles last week in Los Angeles in their game against Tampa Bay when they were penalized some 12 times for over 100 yards.
This is an example of just going in motion right here and really just getting to find a little hole in zone coverage again. We talked to Art Shell about his team, and he said, listen, we've got to keep our composure. We can't get caught up in fights. And that's what's been happening with the Raiders, a lot of penalties. And he said, hey, what I've been preaching is, hey, look, keep your composure. Don't hurt the team. And he's exactly right. You can't afford to sacrifice 15 yards, you know, and put your team in bad field position.
Fifth reception of the game for Sterling Sharp on the left side. This is Daryl Thompson. And getting back to Sterling Sharp, that is his 104th catch of the season. So now 4 away from tying the 108 reception mark he set last week, or last year, I should say. And now just 5 away from breaking it. There is the historic number set last year, and Sterling Sharp continues to add to his sparkling resume. In his 6th year out of South Carolina, the former #1 pick back in '88. Second down and 6. Play action. Favre rolling to his right, and this time Mark Chimera, the tight end, very close to the first down. In fact, he may have picked it up. Needed to get inside the 30 to about the 29. Got inside the 30, but not quite enough.
And you see Favre here, he's telling everybody, hey, let's go. A great drive right here. Starts off with that little seam route. They pumped the ball a couple of times running it, then a little bootleg. This is a great job of play selection right here. Mike Holmgren is doing a heck of a job calling plays, and got a good drive going right now.
And that is the very first catch for Mark Chimera of the season, the 2-time All-American.
This comes off of the run that Green Bay just went with. See the little play action fake? This is the rage in the league right here. Little bootleg pass. The tight end actually blocks down as if he's trying to block and then slips out on the backside. And Favre does a good job with the fake.
Chimera in his second year at Boston College, the 6th round pick, picking up some extra playing time with Jackie Harris out of the lineup. He, along with Ed West, are the 2 tight ends for Green Bay. This is Edgar Bennett going right, and Bennett will get to about the 27. And that'll bring up second down as we roll through more of the scores. The Jets, we just showed you the highlights of their 14-13 lead there. Detroit continuing to hang on to the 10-7 lead over the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field, and Philadelphia leading New Orleans 18-12. New Orleans, another one of those teams which the Packers are watching closely today.
And we get a good close-up of some of the Raiders' shoes. You see the different selections that people are going with on the frozen turf today.
Second down and 8, Edgar Bennett. And Bennett down to the 23. That'll bring up third down. Joe Kelly, the second leading tackler for Los Angeles, made the stop.
You realize that Green Bay really, they don't have an advantage as far as players and cold weather and all that, but I think they do have an advantage in equipment. That's what I was trying to say, Dan, and the shoes, the gloves that they wear. I mean, they're just used to being in this kind of weather. That was a heck of a defensive play there, because there was a pretty good hole there. I thought for a second we're going to have a big gainer, but I think that's where the advantage comes for Green Bay. They're used to being in this. I think their selection of shoes, gloves, they just have the equipment to be able to operate with. It doesn't matter how good of an athlete you are if you can't stand up and you're slipping and sliding on the turf.
Green Bay takes its first time out of the second half. They lead it 7-0.
Brought to you by the new Chevy S-Series line of trucks. So new from the inside out, everything else is history. By Energizer brand batteries. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going and going. By Pringles. So fresh, once you pop, you can't stop. And by Keystone, Keystone Light and Keystone Dry. Bottled beer taste in a can. Wouldn't that be great?
10:04 left in the third quarter. The Green Bay Packers blew a chance to clinch a playoff spot last week when they lost to Minnesota 21-17 at County Stadium. And here at Lambeau Field, they have pretty good field position. Brett Favre completes to Sterling Sharp. Can he get in? Yes! Touchdown! Sterling Sharp! "23 yards on the strike from Favre to Sharp. Touchdown number 11 on the season for Sharp."
I tell you, that was a well-designed play. Sharp, watch him come in motion down here and form a little bunch. See 3 receivers all together, and then he explodes right back to the outside. The defense couldn't react to that. They were in man coverage and couldn't get off of it quick enough to pick it back up at the end and got the ball in the flat.
Well, that was Eddie Anderson who had a shot at Sharp, and the reaction from Brett Favre.
He likes the call. He's telling the coach, hey, good call.
Jackie's point after is good, and Green Bay a step closer to its first playoff berth since 1972. They extend it to 14-0.
What happens when a receiver comes in motion like this and winds up behind 2 other receivers? It causes confusion by the defense, and then he just simply shot right back out in the flat, catches the ball, makes a great run, and then, of course, you see his quarterback loves it, and then he turns around to his coach right there and says, hey, great call. Everybody did a good job there.
Meanwhile, the Rocket, Raghib Ismail, takes the kickoff return from Jackie, gets it across the 35, but Sterling Sharp, that 23-yard strike puts him over the 100-yard mark for the 5th time this season, 24 career as you look at the scoring drive, and right now Sterling Sharp 105 receptions this season. He may get that mark of 108 he set last year and maybe surpass it. Meanwhile, the Raiders, they're also looking for a playoff spot, a wild card spot. They trail it 14-0, 1st and 10 from the 36. And Hostetler feels the pressure. Tony Bennett just ran over Hostetler. 5th sack of the year for Bennett.
Green Bay's been good pressure all day anyway, Dan. And now that down 14-0, really, I think Green Bay's just saying, hey, we're not going to worry about the run. Raiders not been able to run, and they're putting tremendous pressure. It looks like in this case they may have got Haas in this case, because I tell you, that was a big hit when he came in there, Dan, the way he hit him. see Art Shell coming out to check out his quarterback.
I was going to say, you don't see Art Schill come out of the field much at all, but he's out there now as Hostetler is still down. And Vince Evans, the 14-year veteran out of USC, has begun to warm up on the sidelines.
We talked about before the game that really we felt like the offense, when you talk to everybody with the Raiders, that it was going to fall on Hostetler's shoulders. And here he's trying to make a play. And see, he just held the ball there, Dan. When you hold the ball that long, and that means that things are covered downfield. And you get your quarterback, anytime you don't go back and right now set, throw, and you start holding that ball and working that ball in your hands like that, the pass rush is having a chance to get to you. He didn't even see him coming from his blind side.
Hostetler, in the process, the hit by Bennett, fumbled the football, and it was the right tackle, a heads-up play by Bruce Wilkerson, who recovered it. But Bennett, with his 5th sack of the year, has put the Raiders in a deep hole, 2nd down and 16, and it's good to see Haas at least upright, but you can see by the expression on his face.
Yeah. You got a good picture there of his eyes. I think he's dazed a little bit right now. He was looking to his left, never saw the pass rush coming from the right, and that's the reason why quarterbacks these guys have to be mentally tough, Dan. They're normally in positions where they're not defending themselves. In other words, he's not like a offensive lineman or a linebacker here looking to defend himself. He's trying to throw a football, and as he starts forward to throw, gets hit in a bad position right there. That's how you can get hurt.
The good news for the Raiders is that quarterback Jeff Hostetler has made his way off the field, and now Vince Evans, the 38-year-old former 6th-round draft pick of the Chicago Bears back in 1977, will take over for the Raiders in 9-below-degree wind chill factor weather. This is his 8th appearance of the season. He's appeared in 8 games for Los Angeles, but a tall order here. The Raiders down 14-0, but he completes his first pass, and it's to Randy Jordan, the free agent out of North Carolina, and Jordan burns off a huge gain, and he's all the way down inside the 40, down to the 37.
There's 2 kinds of plays you like to use to take off the pressure on the pass rush, Dan. One is the draw. The second one is a screen, and that's exactly what. That's a good call here for the Raiders. They come out knowing that the Packers are going to be pass rushing. Let them come, drop the ball off on a screen. That's going to cause Green Bay now to have to want to play, hey, more cautious, peel an end off, or play some kind of man-to-man coverage.
Vince Evans comes off a cold bench, and on his first play from scrimmage, gets the 33-yard connection to Randy Jordan. Just Jordan's 2nd reception of the season. Evans standing in there, and this time he'll go down. Reggie White.
What's really tough here, too, Dan, think about Vince Evans sitting on the sideline for a half, freezing over there, coming in the game and now having to play. What's Reggie on the bull rush right here? Is that a classic example of taking a guy and just walking him back? And the guys that he's walking back there weigh 300 pounds. That's what's amazing about him.
2nd sack of the afternoon for Reggie White. And now it's 2nd down and 20 for the Raiders. The ball moves back to the 47. Hostetler is still a little woozy on the sidelines. And Evans can run. And he gets knocked at the 45. Took a tremendous shot. But the 38-year-old bounces up off the frozen turf. And a Packer is down injured. That is Tony Bennett, flat on his back at the 45. And perhaps it was Bennett who put the hit on Vince Evans.
Well, you see the pressure here again. Now, Evans is a good runner and a good scrambler. He gets out of the pocket. Guess who's chasing him there? 92. Run fast, Vince. That guy's 310 pounds. He can run about 4.6 himself.
I tell you, I wouldn't have given Vince Evans much of a chance to get up and walk away from that one. So it's instead Tony Bennett, 6'2", 243-yard linebacker, who put the hit on Evans, who's slow in getting up.
Well, we're seeing guys lay it on the line here. Bennett gets a big head on Hostetler. Now he comes all the way back across the field. He gets it. We're carrying him off here in Green Bay, I tell you.
Hostetler warming up on the sidelines, trying to get his thoughts together after a huge sack just a few moments ago. Fourth sack of the afternoon, and Hostetler has had a rough afternoon in frozen weather at Lambeau Field. 7:35 left, third down and 17 for the Raiders. Evans flushed again, and he's looking for James Jett, and it's incomplete.
A great play by Vince Evans. I got to tell you, Dan, he got out of the pocket right there, scrambled all the way out to the outside, and made a great throw on the run, and actually has the ball in Jett's hands. Look at the pressure here. You see White coming from this side this time. A good job by Vince Evans stepping up and eluding the rush there on Reggie White, making a great throw on the run.
I believe the penalty on Vince Evans was that he threw the ball across the line of scrimmage.
It's Los Angeles. 5 yards, loss of down.
Indeed, that is the call. They lose the down. The penalty of 5 yards, so that brings up 4th and 17.
As this sun goes down, Dan, too, you're going to start to see the shadows now are all the way out at almost half to the 50-yard line. As we take a look at Evans here and see if he is across the line of scrimmage. Yep, it looks like he is. A good 2 yards. But as this sun goes down, it's going to get colder and colder. This field is going to really ice up as the shadows here and the sun goes down over the stadium.
Well, Mike Pryor for Green Bay stands in the shadows at the 10. Jeff Gossett's punt, low spiraling shot that goes out of bounds. And they will mark it at the 17-yard line. 7:19 left in the third quarter. Green Bay up by 14. Jeff Gossett, the Raider punter, extremely upset on the sidelines. Exactly what he's upset about, we're really not sure. An update from Soldier Field, the Lions and Bears tied at 13. Detroit, along with Green Bay, one of all the teams in the NFC Central, Joe, that still have a shot at the NFC Central crown. Amazing that 4 teams and all the records are so mediocre.
It is. You know, when we talk to the coaches, too, like Mike Holmgren and Art Shell, when you talk to them, I can tell you what a coach's mindset is, and that is, look, we got to win 2 games. That's when I asked Mike Holmgren, I says, how do you feel about where you are in the season? He says, we got to win 2 games. That's all you got. That's the only way we're looking at it. The same thing with Art Shell, and that's exactly what's happening in Detroit and Minnesota. Everybody's saying the exact same thing.
Well, the Bears just kicked an extra point. They lead it 14-13 now at Soldier Field. And this is Daryl Thompson on the first down call, and Thompson gets it close to the 25. Ed West, the tight end, with a nice block, which enabled Thompson to get outside. As we continue to look at some of the other scores, Jets on top of Buffalo. There is the Bear update in the fourth quarter. The Lions tied atop the NFC Central at 8-6 to start the day, and Philadelphia moving beyond New Orleans now 24-19, and that's also one of the games that is significant. If the Packers can win today and a loss or tie for the Saints, Green Bay would be in the playoffs. Second down and 3. This is Thompson again left side, and he'll get across the 25. And let's head back to our NFL Live studios. Visit once again with Jim Lampley.
And take a look at that Patriot juggernaut, Dan. This touchdown by Leonard Russell in the third quarter in New England gives the Patriots a 31-0 lead, the most points they've scored in 22 games. They're gunning for their 3rd straight victory, and we remind you, this is the 93 Patriots, not the 66 Packers, Dan.
Thanks for clarifying that, Jim Lampley. Here at Lambeau Field, the 93 version of the Packers up 14-0. The report on Jeff Hostetler is that he is dizzy and still feeling a little woozy on 3rd down and 1. Daryl Thompson, I believe, is short of the first down marker for Green Bay.
Well, we talked about this is one of the times in the game this is what we were talking about when you need to run the football. I mean, you're up 14-0. You want to eat the clock up. You're deep in your own territory. That's the reason why the running game, no matter what we say about passing and the quarterbacks and all that, you need to run the game in December. You need the running game to go in December. And those are the kind of teams that will wind up doing well in the playoffs. Ones that they're well balanced and can run. And you've seen several times today that Green Bay's got in trouble, and so are the Raiders on 3rd and shorts. They can't pick it up running.
Well, the Packers short of the first down. The Raiders, we mentioned 25th in the NFL in rushing, and the Packers not much better at 22. Tim Brown calls for the fair catch at the 38. So really 2 rushing attacks, Joe, on the field today that haven't done much at all.
Yeah, and I can tell you from Al Davis's mindset, and he is the central thread on this team right here. He's been the one that's gone through that organization for years and years and years. He's a very unusual guy. He's really owner, coach, general manager, a little bit of everything in certain ways. Don't take anything away from their coaching staff. But he believes in running the football, and they've got themselves in a situation this year where they can't run. And I know that is not the Raiders' game plan, mindset.
Well, you saw Vince Evans run onto the field again. He is in for Jeff Hostetler, who is still dazed on the Raiders sideline. This time, Evans will begin 1st and 10 from the 39, and he'll throw on first down to the near side. Tim Brown looks like he picked up the first down. Needed to get across the 49 close to midfield. Terrell Buckley on the coverage of Tim Brown.
You're going to see just a simple hitch route on the outside here. And with Green Bay playing back, that's a very effective route. I'll tell you, Vince Evans has pulled off some miracles in his life. They're certainly going to ask him to pull one off right here. Down 14-0, frozen field, been on the sidelines for a half. This is tough coming in and operating the quarterback right here. This will be a monumental task for Vince Evans.
Raiders have the first down, close to midfield. Evans complete, and this is James Jett, and he's got another Raider first down. This time it's down to the Packer 37.
Okay, this is that little stop route that we've been talking about all day. When you play off the way the Green Bay is right here, a very effective route is just down the field and then hook behind the linebacker, and you see him slide on behind the linebackers. We see both teams use that route. It's very effective on zone coverage. And Green Bay here's playing fairly cautious right now. They've got a 14-point lead. They're probably going to have to jump back up, play a little man coverage to take some of those things away from the Raiders.
12-yard pickup for Jett. Evans pressured this time, just throwing it downfield in the vicinity of Tim Brown. But Buckley thought he had an interception and made a valiant effort to pick it off, but it is incomplete.
That was a great effort.
What a try by Buckley.
It sure was. He looked like a receiver right here. Who's the receiver here? Buckley looks like he's played it before. Comes down and the ball's right in his hands, but at the end there he looked like a DB.
And Buckley, who was the #1 pick last year out of Florida State, caught a little bit of heat this week. He gave up 2 touchdowns to the Vikings' Chris Carter last week. But he was with Tim Brown step for step right there, the all-time interception leader for the Seminoles. 2nd down and 10, and this is Napoleon McCallum. And McCallum inside the 30, down to about the 28, close to another first down before he's brought down by Leroy Butler.
I tell you, Napoleon has given them a spark a couple of times on the few times that they have made some yards. I tell you what, I think I might leave him in there and start feeding him the ball, see if he can get something going here on the ground too. I think Vince Evans is playing extremely well so far. I'd leave Napoleon in there and let him carry that thing a little bit.
Well, Nick Bell has come on to the backfield for the Raiders. Evans 3 for 4 for 57 yards in relief of Hostetler. 3rd down and 2, or call it a long one. Evans trying to run for the first down, but he'll be sacked, and Tony Bennett picks it up. 2nd of the game, his 6th of the season.
Okay, big decision right here now. It's 4th down. What do you do if you're Art Shell right here? You're down 14 points, 2:59 in the 3rd, and you're looking at about a 4th down, 3 or 4. This is why I'm glad I'm up here and Art Shell is down there.
If you were down there,
he's freezing and got to make decisions like this.
If you were down there, what do you do?
I think right here you got to go for it.
exactly what the Raiders are doing. 4th down and 3. Steve Smith is the lone setback, but he'll try to protect for Vince Evans. Lofting it up for James Jett. Incomplete. Sammy Walker, the coverage on Jett, and Green Bay will take over on downs with 2 minutes and 31 seconds left in the 3rd.
Hey, a guts call here, Dan. Green Bay came up and they went all for nothing. They went with the blitz right there. I'm really surprised at that. And did a heck of a job with it. As we see Green Bay come to the line of scrimmage, watch the 2 linebackers here on the blitz along with the 5 interior rushers. I'm surprised to see that at this point. I tell you, that was a guts call on Green Bay because they could have given up a quick touchdown right there if Vince Evans hits this. It wasn't that far away. Gutsy call by Green Bay. You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. That was a good call by the defensive coaches there, taking a chance, made it pay off.
Green Bay has sacked the Raider quarterbacks already 6 times today. Favre rolling to his right and unable to make the reception at the 45 was Ed West. So that'll bring up 2nd down and 10 for Green Bay. 2:26 left in the 3rd. Green Bay up 14-0.
I think what you like to do here is run the football. And I think the other thing that the running game gives you, Dan, is you don't have the incompletions like we saw right there and stop that clock. I mean, when you got that ball run and you're rushing with it, the clock continues to run, and that's what Green Bay would like to have happen right now. Eat that clock away. I know it seems like forever for Mike Holmes, but this 3rd quarter's gone on forever.
2nd down and 10. This is Thompson trying to turn the corner on the far side. He'll get up to the 32. The update on injured quarterback Jeff Hostetler, a concussion, and he will continue to be evaluated. In the meantime, Vince Evans has taken over for him. So we'll see if it's left up to Vince Evans for the remainder of this game to try to get the Raiders a crucial win here. Art Shell needs a win here. It's not that they're out of it if they lose today, but their 6-5 conference record really puts them in jeopardy if they drop one of their last 2 games. Favre's pass on 3rd and 8 almost picked off by Derek Hoskins. It was intended for Sterling Sharp.
I think at the last second here, Brett Favre saw Raider from the inside and did a good job of pulling that ball down and putting it right into the ground, because I tell you, that was dangerous right there. The Raiders had a free safety sitting in the middle. He was ready to break on anything, and Brett Favre made a good decision there. It's what Mike Holmes talked about. He just needs to pick up confidence as he goes and experience as he goes, and that was an example of making a good play right there.
Tim Brown, were to get a chance? No, it'll run by him down to the 23, so not a bad punt at all for Brian Wagner. As a little scuffle and extracurricular activity emerges at about the 35-yard line. Broken up in a hurry. And there's another look at the playoff picture. A win today and a loss by the Steelers, Jets, and a Chiefs win over the Broncos clinches a berth for Los Angeles. But Art Shell says we can't worry about what the rest of the guys are doing. We got to win.
Art Shell just says, let's win, baby, win. That's what it...
And the playoff picture for the Packers, win the last 2. They are the division champions. Win today, coupled by either a loss by the Saints, Vikings, or Lions, gets Mike Holmgren into the playoff picture. And that would be a huge accomplishment.
Yes, it would. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people here celebrating if that scenario comes up today.
Well, Vince Evans and the Raiders set up at the 22. Evans with time, and he's got the rocket for Give Ismail, and he's to the 27 for a gain of 5. That'll bring up about 2nd down and 5. As the scores continue to roll on the second to last weekend of the NFL, the Jets 14-13 leaders over Buffalo. Chicago continues with the 1-point advantage over the Lions. Eagles up by 5 over New Orleans. the Bengals beating Atlanta in the fourth quarter, and the Patriots and Bill Parcells on their way to 31-0 win there. Vince Evans looking for Rocket, and Ismail picks up the Raider first down. Terrell Buckley on the coverage, but Vince Evans, 38 years old, has been very impressive so far in his early relief role here for Hostetler.
Yeah, he actually seems to have given the Raider offense a little spark here. I think he's played extremely well, Dan. That was a good throw right there, all the way to the sideline. You notice on the play before that, though, that I think Green Bay's done a good job all day against the Raiders of kind of making the quarterback hold the ball back there for a while and just allowing the pass rush get to him. What you want to see happen is the quarterback to get back and hit and throw. Get rid of it.
This is McCallum. And McCallum, the second effort, up close to midfield. Needed to get to the 50-yard line for the first down as time expires in the third quarter. And after 3 quarters, Green Bay still with a 14-0 lead.
Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the NFL is prohibited.
Well, I know it's cold, Joe. I just checked the coffee that I put up here just on the table, and it's frozen. I haven't been able to take a sip of it for a quarter or so, but and look at the water out there. But it's got to be cold if your coffee you're drinking freezes up. Second down and 1 for the Raiders. The ball at the 49. And Evans will get the first down. Ball was at the 44. He needed to get just across the 45, and Vince Evans picks up the first down for Los Angeles. As we look at what Green Bay's defense has done the first 9 games, in the last 8 games today, 6 sacks.
Well, the defense has had a heck of a day, and particularly pressuring the Raider quarterbacks. Both defenses have played well, and the pass rush has been good on both sides.
And this update from Soldier Field, Detroit has taken a 20-14 lead over the Bears. Eric Kramer has just thrown a touchdown pass. Vince Evans' pass on the far side, incomplete. It was the rookie Randy Jordan not able to gain possession. So that brings up second down and 10.
I tell you, they're keeping in extra guys now in pass protection, the Raiders are. Man, the back stepped up that time, and I mean leveled one of the pass rushers. I think the Raiders now are keeping more guys in to try and help Evans in this case and try and shore up the pass protection. They're keeping their backs in to try and help.
And we've just been told that Jeff Hostetler has been taken to the hospital for observation, so it'll be Vince Evans the rest of the way, and Evans gets the pass off, but hit at the 37 was Randy Jordan, and Leroy Butler picks up the loose ball. There's been no indication of a touchdown.
The Raiders are saying the ball was down back at the 28.
Butler gets the touchdown. About that?
I don't think Art Shell believes it. I think the ball was taken away from the back right at the line of scrimmage. It's hard to understand exactly what did happen here.
Well, here it is again.
Screen. Let's take a look.
Leroy Butler made the hit on Jordan.
Gosh, it looked to me like
and
he
then
was
the
down.
lateral from Reggie White back to Leroy Butler.
It sure looked like that ball should have been ruled down. I mean, when that ball came loose, they were laying flat on his back on the ground.
What a play by Reggie White. The presence of mind to lateral it back to Butler. The Packers, with a touchdown by Butler, are up 20-0, now 21-0. 13:57 left.
This is a screen pass. You see Jordan step up. We've seen it several times a day, and then tries to slide out. He gets the ball and is hit almost as he gets it. He's on his back, and the ball kicks up in the air, and nobody can find it. Reggie White winds up with it, pitches it back, a touchdown. Unbelievable. How many times have you seen Reggie White in some kind of a wild play like that? He's a defensive lineman.
I tell you, Reggie
How does he
White
get that many balls?
Reggie White has been everywhere today. And now, Dan Turk recovers it from the Raiders at the 27. So Reggie White with a lateral to Leroy Butler, and Butler with the 25-yard return for the touchdown. It has been long overdue since 1973. Every NFL team has reached the playoffs except the Packers. This excludes the strike season. If Green Bay is able to hang on and get some help today, they will be in the playoffs.
Reggie White, we're playing in Philadelphia when he was with Philadelphia. He knocked Jay Schrader all the way underneath our bench. Joe Bugle was our line coach, went over and called him all kinds of names. We go out and we're coaching in the Pro Bowl the same year. Reggie White gets there late because of bad weather in Philadelphia, climbs on the bus as we go to practice, walked all the way back, found Joe Bugle, and he says to him, I remember all those names you called me that day on that sideline. We called Reggie White a lot of names when we were in Washington, all those plays he made against us.
Well, maybe Reggie White was due as we look at Todd Peake walking off the field, shaken up. The backup left guard for Los Angeles, also a special teams player for the Raiders, but Reggie White was sackless in his last 4 games for the Packers, and for the first time in his career was in danger of maybe playing more games than a season than garnering sacks. Well, now he's up to 12.5 sacks on the season with his 2 today, so he may have a chance of rectifying that number. Look at the line on Reggie White today.
The way he's going right now, he's hot now. Dan, I would not want to be the quarterback taking the snap opposite from him right now.
So with
I think he smells blood here. He's going for it.
Hostetler in the hospital, or at the hospital. Vince Evans from the 27, passing on first downs, got Tim Brown, and he's into Packer territory to the 48. George Teague, the free safety, put the wraps on Tim Brown, who is having his finest season ever. Another look at the former Heisman Trophy winner.
This is catching the ball deep inside, just in the end route, versus the zone coverage by the Packers. Now, the Packers are laying back a little bit right here. They're playing more cautious. That's the kind of route, though, that hurts a cautious zone coverage like that, is those deep in routes, because they wind up being 20 or 30 yards, Dan, after you catch them deep and then run with them.
Gain of 12 for Tim Brown. Evans' pass is picked off. Wayne Simmons. Second interception in the young career of Wayne Simmons, the #1 draft pick, the rookie out of Clemson. And the Packers leading 21-0. We'll be right back.
Is brought to you by Rayovac Renewal, reusable alkaline power. That's the power of renewal. By Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer, we are driving excitement. By Schick Tracer, it traces every curve on your face. And by Canon, a world leader in office equipment.
Well, the Packers could be on the verge of a playoff berth, and some of the fans celebrating shirtless.
I tell you what, if I was still coaching, I'd be trying to draft those 4 guys. They are mentally tough, being shirtless out there on a day like this. You need them on the field playing.
Green Bay up 21-0, 13 minutes left. Edgar Bennett is swarmed behind the line of scrimmage, but we've been emphasizing it all game long. A Packers win plus a loss or tie by one of 3 teams, and the Philadelphia Eagles are seemingly on their way to a victory over New Orleans. The score is 30-19 in the fourth quarter, and the Saints, with a loss, was one of those teams combined with a Packer win, which would put Green Bay into the playoffs. Another look at the interception by Vince Evans a moment ago.
Now, this route is the same one that these teams have been using, that little curl route. You see the receiver back there, but the danger is trying to throw it in those seams. In this case, Vince Evans gets caught by the linebacker making a good play.
Well, this time it is Thompson with some daylight, and one man to beat. Nolan Harrison won't get it. Touchdown, Packers. 60 yards. The third touchdown of the season for Darrell Thompson. Goes 60 yards, and Green Bay has turned it into a blowout with 12:07 left.
Well, this is where the running game, let's take a look at it. This is a great job of cutting back, getting in secondary. Of course, here, just great speed. But Green Bay's put it all together today. They've thrown the ball, Favre's made some good plays, and now they're getting some added running, which is something they've really missed.
Some movement on the Packer offensive line as Jackie tried to tack on the extra point. We mentioned earlier in the game that Darrell Thompson had the team's longest run from scrimmage, which was 28 yards. That was a 60-yard jaunt, the longest of his career, and of course the longest run on the season for the Packers, and it has put them up 27-0, as Jackie will have to attempt the point after, 5 yards back.
What do you think? You think Mike Holmes excited? All right, man. He's excited.
Packers just missed the playoffs last year, as Jackie puts on the extra point, and it's point number 28. The Raiders have nothing. A final from Soldier Field. Detroit beats the Bears 20-14, so the NFC Central Division title will come down to next week as the Raider return man, Willie Gault, returns it into Packer territory, but the NFC Central title coming down to the Silverdome in Pontiac next weekend in Detroit.
We're playing against Willie Gault. Our special teams coach made the statement, Wayne Severi said, look, we're going to show them how tough we are. We're going to kick to their best guy and tackle him and get this game started right. We kicked off to Willie Gault. He ran it back 102 yards against us. I said, well, so much proving how tough we are. I tell you, this guy had tremendous speed. The Raiders are loaded with speed. Of course, all those receivers can run. We talked about that during the day.
Yes, the Ice Bowl, the coldest game. I know it's any colder than this game today, though, Joe. It's minus 9 degrees wind chill factor. Evans under pressure, and he gets it away to Tim Brown. And Brown has a first down at the Packer 30. Terrell Buckley on the coverage of Brown. Buffalo up on the Jets. And there's the final, Detroit's win over Chicago.
Hurry up offense. This is smart right here with a little over 11 minutes to go. The Raiders' only chance here, go to hurry up and try and get a couple of scores.
And this one will fall well short of the target intended for James Jett. And I guess it's appropriate that the NFC Central title, Joe, would come down to the final weekend.
Last year, Green Bay had a chance to go to the playoffs in the last game and were beaten in Minnesota. So I know this excites everybody here. And they've been publishing all week that there's extra fines for coming on the field. Some of the things have been happening in colleges, Dan, with everybody getting hurt on the field after games. I know they cautioned the fans here. They want everybody to stay off, nobody to get hurt here on the celebration.
Evans escapes for the moment and simply throws it away, so that will bring up third down. But what an accomplishment for Mike Holmgren in his second year as the Packers in the playoffs.
You see the pressure again by Green Bay. That's been the story all day. I tell you what, these guys have played great. Great pressure on the Raiders. And a good example of it there again.
And that is Bryce Popp applying the pressure. Popp moved into the left inside linebacker position.
This guy right here, Mike Holmes, coached this team the first time since 1966-67 they've had back-to-back winning seasons. What a story.
Evans pass over the outstretched hands of Tim Brown, and that will bring up 4th down and 10, but I'm sure we'll see the Raiders go for it. But getting back to the point I was going to make about the Packer defensive linebacking core, George Kuntz suffered a hairline fracture in his left foot, has not played today, so Bryce Popp has been moved into the inside linebacker position, and the rookie out of Clemson, Wayne Simmons, number 59, has moved into the starting role at left outside linebacker, so it has been a beat-up Packer defense, which has done the job defensively on the Raiders today, and this time Evans' pass is complete to the big tight end, Ethan Horton. It'll be short, and Green Bay will take over on downs, and it'll give the fans a chance here at Lambeau Field, a chance to celebrate a playoff berth. The wind chill factor, all sorts of ways of trying to keep those hands warm, Joe Gibbs, and you had a chance to visit the Packer locker room and pick up some of those gloves that the Packers and Raiders have been wearing.
We talked about equipment. This glove is normally warm and it is good in warm weather. It's tacky, but on a day like today, this will freeze. Most of these good receivers are using the Aqua glove. This glove right here, this doesn't freeze, and it keeps a pretty good rubber surface here to catch the ball with, and just to protect your hands from a hard ball coming after.
Well, I saw you with the Aqua glove on earlier. You've taken it off and have gone to your mittens. This is Green Bay just trying to grind out the clock. Edgar Bennett with the carry.
I know that Green Bay's excited about the fact they did get some run going today, Dan. I know that's what they've talked about. And as they position themselves now for the playoffs and go for a division title next week, having a well-balanced offense, the way that defense is playing right now, hey, these guys have a chance. These guys look like they're a playoff-bound team that's going to do something in the playoffs, not just get there, but do something.
And we'll keep it on the ground again, which will give us a chance to remind you what you can view on NBC tonight. Two great movies on. One filled with adventure, the other with a miracle just in time for the holidays. First, a special 2-hour Sequest adventure starring Roy Scheider, starting at 7 o'clock, 6 Central. Then you're invited to share in a very special miracle, the miracle on I-880. It's the story of the collapsed highway back in 1989 in San Francisco. All of that coming up tonight on NBC. And Brett Favre swings it out to Edgar Bennett on 3rd down and 9. He'll be short of the first down, and we will see Green Bay punt it away. And really, the Green Bay Packer berth into the playoffs really not official until Philadelphia gets this win over New Orleans. But they are in the 4th quarter, and Philadelphia has a 37-19 lead over New Orleans. So really, it's just a matter of time. But the Packer faithful already celebrating here today.
Yeah, I think they're celebrating. What Bennett would like to have done right there, Dan, you don't want to get out of bounds in these situations. Hey, no matter what, as a receiver, and he did get knocked out on the sideline, but managed to stay in. It was a good job by him in this case. Don't go out of bounds. Protect the football as a receiver or a running back.
Right. Pretty good punt by Wagner, considering the frozen conditions, and drives Brown back to the 21, and Brown gets it up to the 30, a 9-yard return for Tim Brown. 51-yard punt by Wagner, who's warming up perhaps for next week's Central Division title clash with Detroit. New Year's Day, don't miss the championship Saturday. College football bowl action, entire day on NBC. It begins at 1 Eastern time. The IBM OS2 Fiesta Bowl with Miami and Arizona. Then Notre Dame takes on Texas A&M in the Cotton Bowl. And finally, the national championship game, Joe, the Federal Express Orange Bowl, or would you care to make a prediction on the national championship game?
It should be a good one. I've got to go with Florida State. I mean, I just think they played an extremely tough schedule. They're battle-tested, and certainly they've been on the verge, and I think they're hungry. Of course, all the Nebraska people now are mad at me. Everybody in
You've done it. Yeah, I was going to say it pretty much clinches the letters to Joe Gibbs. Vince Evans is sacked for a loss and then fumbles the football. Steve Smith falls on it back at the 12-yard line.
I think the wheels are coming off for the Raiders right now. I think they're in a mode where all they can do is throw the football, and Green Bay's teeing off. And of course, Green Bay's got some darn good pass rushers over there.
Well, John Yurkovich.
Here we take a look at
Eastern Illinois.
Really a blown pass protection in this case.
I'll tell you, Yurkovich has really turned into a fine player for the Packer defense. He was undrafted out of Eastern Illinois, originally signed by the Dolphins, as Evans swings it out to Steve Smith. But he was signed by the Packers back in 1991 and has really been a pleasant surprise for Green Bay, and has started the last 10 games as Bill Moss has had problems with an Achilles injury. And what a job the Green Bay defensive front has done, of course anchored by Reggie White. Third down and 19 now. 7 sacks for that Green Bay defensive line as Evans skips it into James Jett, incomplete. And there is Reggie White. You know, the guy doesn't get a sack for 4 games and starts to get a little criticism here in the local papers in Green Bay. And like we mentioned earlier, he says, hey, I'm playing as well as I've ever played. That doesn't really matter if you're racking up the sacks numerically.
Well, if I was the coach and if I thought that the papers helped get him upset, I think I'd have to be talking to the papers. Hey, write something critical about Reggie White. Because the way he's played today, he's been like a man possessed over there.
Well, the Raiders can do nothing more than just punt it away. Gossett's punt angling to Mike Pryor at the 45, and Pryor takes it into Raider territory, close to the 45. Joe Kelly ran him out of bounds. 35-yard punt. And we'll take another opportunity to remind you that NBC Sports presents the final weekend of the NFL regular season with doubleheader action beginning at 12:30 Eastern with NFL Live. And most of you will see an AFC West matchup between the Seahawks and the Kansas City Chiefs, or regional action. And in the second half of the doubleheader, most of you will see these Raiders battle the Broncos, or regional action. And whether the Raiders will still have a shot for a playoff berth, we really don't know at this point. But they would obviously need some help in order to have a shot in the final weekend. Favre's pass to Sterling Sharp, who has had a sterling game, and Sharp down to the 27. That is the 7th reception for Sterling Sharp, already over the 100-yard mark again.
Well, this is that little stop route on the outside. I'm a little surprised the Raiders are laying back here. You got to figure, I would, that Green Bay is going to be looking to kind of conservatively run the ball, and I'd be thinking putting everybody in the line of scrimmage and press on the outside. But if they stay back like that, that little stop route is very effective. It's better than any run you can get.
I'll tell you, also with 1 game remaining, he may even get it in this game if he gets a couple more receptions. As we look at Darrell Thompson, but Sterling Sharp with 7 receptions, 106 on the year now, needs just 2 to tie the record he set last year, 108. 3 will break it, so you figure Sterling Sharp's going to surpass last year's mark.
Yeah, one of the things we used to emphasize too, Dan, in practice, we would tell our offensive team, hey, we would take 4 shots running the ball at the end of practice, and against an 8-man front, and we'd say, look, there comes a time in the game when they know we're going to run, we have to run, and we still have to be effective, and that's the situation right now for Green Bay. The Raiders know they got to run. Hey, they still got to be able to run the ball effectively.
2nd and 3, Edgar Bennett will get nothing. We'll mention also that Daryl Thompson has another 100-yard game. He had his first versus Tampa Bay a couple of months ago, and he has the Packers' only 2 100-yard rushing games on the season. He has 16 carries for 103 yards, and of course the 1-yard touchdown plunge earlier in the game. Daryl Thompson, the former #1 pick out of Minnesota. He had 40 touchdowns as a Golden Gopher. Edgar Bennett. Edgar Bennett inside the 20, and he's got a Packer first down.
This is also a point in the game where if you're Green Bay, you may want to put in extra tight ends to be blocking those 8-man fronts. It's hard to block them with just 2 tight ends in there. This is a heck of a run right here. This is a great job of balance going over the top. That was a heck of an individual effort right there.
6-yard gain by Bennett.
Green Bay just wanting to keep that thing on the ground. They're going with 2 tight ends right now, trying to balance up the set right here and run away from the safeties when the Raiders put them up there.
1st and 10. And this is Thompson. Bangs off one Raider and gains nothing down to the 15-yard line. An interesting note to make also, Joe, a 7-0 game at halftime. Really looked like it was going to be perhaps a 7-0 game, 10-0 game, something of that sort. But the Packers reeling off 21 second-half points to all of a sudden make it a blowout.
Yeah, really for Coach Shell and the Raiders there, they had a tough day on offense. Really couldn't get anything going. They've had a tough time running the ball here late in the year. Today, with Hostetler getting knocked out, Vince Evans comes in, gives them a little spark, but nothing really that they could sink their teeth into on offense.
Good fake by Favre as Thompson gets it to about the 15.
We played a game up here, and it was extremely cold, and I sent one of our assistant coaches out on the field, and I said, come back and give me a report of what it's like. He walked halfway through the players' locker room and yelled at me from the players' locker room, Dan. He said, that's the coldest I've ever been in my life. And I looked around. I never used to like to say anything like that in front of the players. All of them turned around, dove into their lockers, and started pulling out all the underwear and heavy gear. I told our assistant coach, never do that again. You're supposed to always put on a good front in front of the players.
Well, this is a time when the Los Angeles Raiders probably can't wait to get back on that plane and head back to the West Coast. A warm airplane. Now, before the game, we had a chance to shoot Art Davis, Al Davis, in his, I guess that's as good a split of California garb and cold weather wardrobe that you could possibly have. But is that a classic shot of Al Davis? Or what?
I like his style there with the pointed toboggan hat and yet the big chains hanging down from the glasses.
And Al Davis very disappointed, I'm sure, as well as Art Shell and the rest of the Raiders. Their last regular season game against the Denver Broncos. They beat the Broncos 23-20 earlier in the season. And they'll have the Broncos at the Coliseum next week. As we mentioned, the Raiders will need some help if they're to be in the playoffs.
As we talked to some of the Raiders last night, they made the point that Art Shell's been there 4 years, had a chance, he still has a chance this year to get in the playoffs 3 of those 4 years. And certainly he's done a fine job for them. And I think they like the big guy. He's my Slim Fast partner when we were doing our Slim Fast commercials. And but is trimmed down and looks good and says he's feeling good right now. Had that spell of being sick earlier in the year.
Well, way back in the first quarter, Chris Jackie missed a 37-yard field goal. All he's been doing since then is tacking on extra points. This will be a 30-yard field goal for Jackie. And this one will be no good. So Jackie 0 for 2 in the field goal department today. And Green Bay hasn't had much need for the three-pointer, as they have scored all their points on touchdowns and extra points. And
this will come back, I'm sure, in the playoffs. And this is going to be something they're going to have to get done. Of course, if they get home field advantage, play on this field. But if anybody's got experience here, it's Jackie.
Well,
he ought to be able to kick on this kind of turf.
We mentioned that Chris Jackie was having his best season. He was tied for second in NFL scoring with a career-high 116 points. He's missed the field goals today. First in the NFL in scoring at the outset of the game was Jeff Jager, the Raider kicker, but he has come up with nothing today, so Jackie is taking over that lead.
And I think he's second in the all-time percentage on field goals, only to Lowry, I think. And they just signed a new long-term contract, too, here with the Green Bay Packers.
Well, in the fourth quarter, Philadelphia leading the Saints, key game that the Packers are watching. 3:30 left here, 2nd down and 7 for Vince Evans. And Vince Evans will go down again. And the Packer defensive front will get credit for another sack. Tony Bennett along with his buddy Reggie White.
Yeah, it's not been a sharp passing game by the Raiders. Their quarterbacks, Hostetler and Evans both, have been going back and taking the ball, and they don't throw the ball when they sit back here. You can see them kind of wait, and it's coverage sacks because there's nobody to throw to, and then when they hold the ball, then they're in real trouble because I think Reggie came out there with the ball again. How's that guy as a defense? I think we ought to put him as a fullback and let him carry it some. He has a knack for getting that thing even as a defensive lineman.
8 sack for Green Bay. Vince Evans this time dumps it over the line of scrimmage to Jordan. And Jordan gets up across the 25, brought down by Terrell Buckley as we move under the 3-minute mark. Well, the Packer defense has not allowed a rushing touchdown. They came into the game going 24 quarters without allowing a rushing touchdown, and looks like perhaps we'll go another 4 more, so now 28 quarters for the Green Bay defense without allowing a rushing touchdown.
There's going to be a lot of celebrating going on in Green Bay.
And the crowd is chanting Reggie, Reggie.
Yep.
Evans with some time intended for Alexander Wright, incomplete.
Who would think that $16 million would be a bargain? I think in this case it was a bargain. I tell you, a very fitting day. The fans here saluting the Green Bay defense.
The last shutout, more than 2 years ago versus Tampa Bay. Green Bay with a chance to make the playoffs in style with a shutout over the Los Angeles Raiders. Looking for their first division title in 21 years, the first non-strike playoff berth in 21 years. They went to the Super Bowl tournament, Joe, back in the strike season, back in 1987.
Yeah, they had mentioned that, but I don't know that they count that when they were saying that this is certainly Mike Holmgren, the job he's done here. I mean, these fans are excited, and to get home field is a big deal here too, because somebody else has got to come here, Dan, and play in this and play on this frozen field.
Darrell Thompson.
That's going to be a big advantage if they can get some home field. That's why that game next week will be so important to win the division. There's only been 2 teams that have ever won a Super Bowl and didn't win their division, so that'll be a big game next week.
The 2-minute warning. Green Bay in command. Yes, the first playoff berth in 21 years will bring out the craziness of all.
You're going to see that guy at the emergency center in about an hour from. We talked about the field having some heating coils. I think that guy's got some heat from inside there, something to drink there.
We'll take this time. The executive producer of NBC Sports is Tommy Roy. The coordinating producer of NBC's football coverage is John Paratzis. Today's game produced by Terry Ewert, directed by John Gilmartin. Associate Director Brian Orentrack, our production associate Billy Zager. The Spotters today up here in the booth managed to brave the cold elements as well. Dave Stevepak and Tom Miskella, the Spotters. Statistics. It's so cold, they're having a hard time even pronouncing. Say statistics.
I can't right
9
now.
below wind chill factor.
My mouth is not working.
Stats men, Bob Catalano and Tom Rizzo, stage manager Barbie Patterson. Our thanks to all of you.
I think it's important, too, for Green Bay.
These shots. Director John Gilmartin has had fun with the Lambeau Field crowd today.
I think this game comes at a good time offensively, you know, for Green Bay. Dan, that they've run the football. Favre's made some plays. He's not made big mistakes today, not thrown interceptions, and I think this is a real confidence builder for him. Comes at a good time, right before the big game with Detroit next week.
Under a minute. And then Mike Holmgren can really celebrate. 45-year-old Mike Holmgren stands 6 feet 5 inches tall. He's a huge man on the sidelines for Green Bay, an imposing figure, and has done a magnificent job. The former 49ers quarterback coach and offensive coordinator for 6 years, now a head coach.
We had a great talk last night, Mike and I did, Dan, and talking just about football and everything, and I was asking him about Saturday. He said, well, Saturday's the one afternoon where him and his wife and the kids get to do something. We were talking about that. Great job by that guy, and a tough day for Art Shell.
And the clock stopped with 25 seconds left. We were told before the game that if the Packers did win and clinch a playoff berth, that the police here at Lambeau Field would take special precautions as to avoid a massive swarm of fans going after the goalposts.
Yeah, we've had some problems with the college games this year, as we mentioned, and they beefed up security here.
And
it's been a long time. These people are hungry.
Yeah, I would say so. 1972. As that will be the final snap. And the Green Bay Packers, 21 years out of the playoffs, are finally back in postseason. Art Shell and the Raiders hope they get some help. The Raiders fall to 9-6, and the Packers improve to 9-6. So the final score, Los Angeles loses at 28-0 to Green Bay. And remember New Year's Day, NBC's bowl lineup, beginning with the IBM OS2 Fiesta Bowl, Miami and Arizona. Then it's the Mobile Cotton Bowl with Notre Dame and Texas A&M. And finally, it's the national championship game, #1 against #2, at Nebraska and Florida State in the Federal Express Orange Bowl. It all begins at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on New Year's Day. So for Joe Gibbs, I'm Dan Hicks saying so long from a celebratory Lambeau Field in Green Bay. Now stay with us for the Head and Shoulders post-game report.
Unwedded bliss could be.
Week 17, prime time for things to start heating up. Lions, no Sanders and Bears. Oh my! Where was it cold? Tri-Ridge Stadium, where the Bills pulled out their thermals. It was real foggy by the Bay, where the Raiders and Pack were just hossing around. Where was it cold? In Philly. The Bridge tried to take the chill out of the Eagles' season. Where wasn't it cold? Try Phoenix, where the Giants look for win number 12. And in Dallas, where the Cowboys looking for win number 11 against their arch-rival Skins. Come in from the cold to a place where style points and playoff berths are always rewarded. Prime time is next. Everybody, welcome to Week 17 of NFL Prime Time, the day after Christmas. Some major surprises. Looked like some of the big teams took some of the little teams as an extra Christmas gift. They were surprised. It wasn't Santa, it was Scrooge. But Santa of sorts is with me. Tom Jackson, Robin Roberts has the week off, and she missed a day when a lot of her teams were winners.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of the way it worked out. Let's first get you updated on the late games around the NFL. All of them are now final. Dallas spotted Washington a 3-0 lead, then laughed to a 38-3 winner, getting set for their game next week against the Giants. The Giants, in a game that really didn't mean much except for pride, were surprised at Phoenix by the Cardinals 17-6. What has happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers? They're stymied up in the Kingdom where they rarely win. They didn't today. The Seahawks beat the Steelers 16-6. The Cleveland Browns bested the LA Rams big time 42-14. A half a season's worth of frustration on offense, and Vinny got his yayas out today. And a major surprise at Mile High as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers upset the Broncos 17-10. But Broncos get in the playoffs. We'll explain it later. We'll have highlights at all those games. Of course, our game tonight, we're pretty excited about it. Two teams alive. Minnesota still alive for a playoff spot in the NFC, very much so. And the Kansas City Chiefs going to what they hope is their first AFC West title since 1971. A win, they clinched the division. The Chiefs have already clinched a playoff spot. With our game tonight coming up at the top of the hour, Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann have the preview. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Chris. We're standing by at the Metrodome for a pair of teams still thinking about division titles and playoffs, the Chiefs and the Vikings. And on display, the NFL's winningest active quarterbacks, Minnesota's Jim McMahon and Kansas City's Joe Montana. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Patrick. Joe Theismann joins me in a moment. Outside of winning football games, these two quarterbacks don't seem to have a lot in common. But Vikings head coach Dennis Green has had the pleasure of working with both of them, and he has found some similarities.
Well, I think they're alike in that they're great competitors. I mean, they're guys that whether they're playing golf or whether they're playing basketball, whether they're playing football, really will go the extra yard to win. I think they're alike in their preparation for the game itself, and that they're both mental quarterbacks. They kind of know what's going to take place before it happens. Both of them do a great job at the pre-snap look. They can look at its defensive secondary, determine who the rush linebacker is, and then focus in on the strong safety and get a real quick look on what the coverage is going to be.
Joe, you played against both of these guys. You've watched them play for a long time. What do you see as similar and what is different?
Well, first of all, Mike, I think the biggest difference is that Joe Montana has played in a pass-oriented offense his entire career. Jim McMahon, on the other hand, has been in a run-oriented offense. Joe Montana plays to a certain level and makes the players around him play to that level. Jim McMahon provides stability, but he also requires that the guys around him play to a certain level. Two similarities: neither one of them will beat themselves or their team. And the other thing is they both just win.
The Vikings need a win tonight to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Chiefs need one to clinch the AFC West for the first time since 1971. It all comes up at 8 Eastern. Back to you, Chris.
All right, guys, thank you very much. It's hard to compute, speak, talk, and figure out everything at the same moment. The Denver game, because it ended in the last 60 seconds, them losing along with the Raiders losing, the Chiefs know right now they have won the AFC West for the first time since '71. They still are alive if things go their way for home field throughout the playoffs. That could work, so they still have plenty to play for. Minnesota obviously does. Our game at the top of the hour. We've got plenty to show you. There are some tete-a-tetes, especially in the NFC Central. And we're just talking about the Chiefs. How do the Raiders do with the frozen tundra of Green Bay? Well, we'll see if the Hawks ride roughshod over the pack. And Lions, Bears. Oh, my, the cold at Soldier Field.
NFL Prime Time is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for a crisp, clean, classic taste.
When we return on NFL Prime Time, could Deion Sanders and the Falcons pull out the stops and keep their playoff hopes alive? Or will the Bengals smell upset? Stay with us. To NFL Primetime, the day after Christmas, a wild one here in Week 17. The Saints were at the Eagles. Since 1990, 15 teams had started the NFL season at 3-0. All 15 of them had made the playoffs. So when the Saints started 5-0 and the Eagles 4-0, they figured they had a pretty good shot at the playoffs. Well, it's been a long season since those good starts, and it's possible that neither of them could make it to the big show. Which one would survive the cold today? Jim Mora's Saints on the road with Wade Wilson hurt. Mike Buck makes his first career start at the Vet against the Eagles. How did Mike Buck do? Answer, not very well. Incomplete to Irv Smith. He looks for Eric Martin. Forget it. And then Clyde Simmons and Mike Flores introduce themselves to Buck. Steps up in the pocket, but there's all Eagles. Wasn't a good day for Buck. First half passing, Eagles 142 to the Saints -3. The Saints look for their real strength in offense. Morton Anderson had 4 field goals, including this from 56 in the cold, in the wind, outside. When they try to put the ball in the air, Buck nailed in the end zone. Thomas gets the sack, and it's 9-2 Saints.
Yeah, you watch Thomas here come around, get the sack. This would be 7 points, though. Irv Smith very alert to get on that ball and save 5 points.
So it's 9-2 after the 2-run home run by Kruk, but Philadelphia trying to get in it. Brisker in the air for 49 yards. Michael Youngkin goes all the way. It's a touchdown. Roger Ruzek, who framed him? He missed a couple of extra points today, so at this point the Eagles don't tie it. They're down 9-8. Then, Bubby Brisker. And they're scrapping. These are teams that met last year in the playoffs. Here is Brisker with the dump to Herschel Walker. And it's a touchdown. And it's 15-9 Eagles. Maybe the Eagles are warming up. Brisker loses the ball at the snap, and Sam Mills has it. Or is it a recovery for the Saints?
Well, a nice hit by Les Miller, and you can see that Bubby Brisker clearly is not down when that ball pops out. The officials call the play dead.
The Eagles take the break, look for momentum. Steve Walsh has replaced Buck at quarterback. But Eric Allen picks it off. Let him go. He taunts the Saints. No one's going to catch him. His 3rd touchdown on a pick this year, Tom.
Eric Allen giving a clinic on how to play cornerback, makes a nice break on the ball, and even in cold weather, a great one-handed grab.
You think it was luck? I don't think so. We go the other way. Another pick for a touchdown. His 4th for a TD this year. 6 overall. Ties an NFL record. Remember that scintillating return he had against the Giants? Well, the only bright spot for the Saints were the special teams. You saw Morton Anderson, and now you see the youngster Tyrone Hughes return a punt, and he's gone, 83 yards. But in a season when the Eagles' offense, since Randall Cunningham was hurt, have struggled, all of a sudden they ring up the points, and the New Orleans Saints continue to fade. The Eagles' 37-26 win leaves both teams at 7-8. The Saints with just 7 first downs. The Falcons at the Bengals. Falcons clinging to what they hope is a playoff shot, and it so enthralled everyone in Cincinnati that 27,000 showed up at Riverfront, and they saw the Bengals, who won last week, continue to look like they know what they're doing. Harold Green left for 13. Harold Green right for 12, right down to the Falcons 3.
Yeah, you watch the replay here. A great lead block by Derek Finner right there on Jesse Sullivan. Actually clears Jesse Tuggle as well. But they were getting plenty of yardage on the ground, Chris.
Those runs set up. Look at play action. I think Klingler was watching Boomer over the years. I do. Craig Thompson, a touchdown off play action, 7-0. His first touchdown pass at Riverfront all year. Jerry Glanville in his Darth Vader coat, hoping the Falcons can come back. Bobby Hebert avoids the rush. And he finds Drew Hill, a pretty play for a big gain. And then Hebert sees a bad moon rising. Perfect throw to Andre. 21 yards, we're tied at 7. Second quarter, David Shula says to his young quarterback, get to work. Another play fake, the reverse, the dump to the tight end, Tony McGee, who rumbles for 20 yards. And then Klingler to Carl Pickens, and the strength of the youngster, Tom.
Carl Pickens, the ability to get up and make a catch, and then the ability to wrestle the ball away. 6'3", about 215 pounds stronger than the average receiver in the NFL.
14-10 Bengals in the 4th. Eric Pegram had a big day, he's had a big year. Runs for 12 yards. Eric Pegram, 7, runs for 14. And that sets up Pegram from 1 yard out, the first 1,000-yard rusher for the Falcons since John Settle in 88. And Atlanta leads at 17-14 with about 7 minutes to go. The Bengals see the clock ticking down. They have one last chance. Klingler rushes. Tom, he's fast. Look at him pick up speed to the 40, the 30, the 25. Safe at the 21-yard line. They're within the field goal range of Doug Batts in the Pelfrey. But with just over a minute to go, Klingler to Pickens. What a throw! The Bengals lead 21-17.
Yeah, a great job of Klingler here reading with Pickens. The quarterback gets too far out in front of the play, throw the ball behind the defender. Pickens is the only one who can pick it up.
So Glanville and the Falcons, despite 180 yards from Eric Pegram, see David Klingler's heroics The Bengals have won what? Their last 3 home games? They've won 2 in a row. Bust them up. They beat the Falcons 21-17 to knock them out of whatever playoff shots they thought they had. But Tommy, let's go back to the Eagles game against the New Orleans Saints. I mean, there are some teams who, you know, who even make it to the playoffs don't play as hard as the Eagles do every week.
Well, a lot of credit to Richie Kotite, the head coach of the Eagles, for keeping this team focused and ready to play week in and week out with all of the injuries that they've suffered. He's found out now that he has a good backup in Bubby Brister, a guy that if Randall Cunningham comes back strong next year, you can depend on to come in and win football games. And Eric Allen, what a performance he has put on this year. The likes of a Deion Sanders, a Jerry Rice, he is a game maker, a playmaker in every area.
And he's a record maker today, Tom. We showed the record. Let's go inside the numbers. Here it is. And remember, Allen has a game to go. Admittedly, the guys whose record that he tied did it in 14 games. But Ken Houston had 4 touchdowns on interceptions in 1971 when he picked off 9 for the Oilers. Jim Kearney, the safety of the Kansas City Chiefs, had 4 interceptions for a touchdown in 72. And now Eric Allen, 4 touchdowns in 1993 with a game to go. Pretty good list. Pretty good feat. Or pretty good feats. When we return, here's a guy with some pretty good feats. Thermal Thomas, Bills Jets. Let's see here. 4 Super Bowl rings for the guy on the right, 1 for the guy on the left. Joe Jimmy Mack, Chiefs Vikes from Minnesota. ESPN Sunday Night Football, top of the hour. Be there. NFL primetime. Not much shuffling in Buffalo on December 26th as the Jets and Bills prepared to play the coldest game ever at Rich Stadium, an awful cold place. It was 9 degrees on the thermometer. Wind chill was 28 below. For the Bills, they're trying to win the AFC East for the 5th time in 6 years, and oddly enough, for the 4th time, if they could do it, it would be against the Jets. But the Jets are no easy task for them, especially since the Jets, too, were in a playoff hunt of their own. And here we go from Buffalo, where how cold was it? Whatever you had in the top drawer, bottom drawer, in the trunk, bring it out. It was 28 below wind chill. Jim Kelly, screen pass to Kenneth Davis, was not going to be a day for the long passing. Look at KD, cut back, and he almost scored before he knocked out of bounds inside the 5. And first and goal, the pitch to Thurman Thomas. Gardner with the block. He cuts in. It's a fumble, but they call it a touchdown. Good call out, Tom.
Yeah, a big break for the Buffalo Bills. Mo Lewis did a great job of stripping Thurman Thomas right there at the 1-yard line. You see the ball coming to loose. Was not called a fumble, called a TD instead.
For the Jets, this argument was a lost cause. As they're down 7-0, they left them with a touchdown. Johnny Johnson had a big day. He rumbles for 16 yards. That sets up Esiason to Johnny Johnson. Picks up lots of yards. 24 yards for a touchdown, and we're tied at 7-all. The Jets' first touchdown pass in 6 games. And it happens when it's 28 below 0. You explain it, Tom.
The beauty of the play is the quickness with what Esiason turns and spots Johnson as the outlet receiver on that play.
Bill's trying to warm up, fans. Showing off his Christmas sweater, I guess. 13-7 Bills, 3rd quarter. Boomer to Johnny Mitchell. Look at the tight end. Make the move on Darryl Talley and pick up 20 yards.
You know, in this kind of weather, the thing is a linebacker. You can't get your foot in there. Darryl Talley slides right by Johnny Mitchell. Johnny Mitchell goes for the extra 10, 15 yards.
Same drive. The Jets down 6. Boomer to Terrence Mathis. It's the 12th of never, but it's a big catch. Sets up. Second and goal from the 7. Boomer to former Buffalo Bill Chris Burkett. He skates into the end zone. 14-13. Jets, they're holding onto the ball. Carroll's defense trying to do the job, and Ronnie Lott, well, he's been doing the job for a dozen years. Here's the neural of Billy Brooks. Brooks down for a while, got back in. Marv Levy looking for his offense to move the ball. 14-13 Jets, 3rd and 11 in the 4th quarter. The dump to Thermal Thomas, and he warms up for a first down. Glenn Parker with a big block, number 74. From 40 yards out, it sets up a field goal by Steve Christie. 16-14 the Bills. Osler and Esiason talk over the final drive. 2nd and 15. Johnny Mitchell over the middle for 16 yards and a first down. 2nd and 10. Johnny Johnson off right tackle. First down. Marv Levy having glove trouble. Gary Blanchard having field goal trouble. Bruce Coslet on 3rd down. What's the call? Johnny Johnson runs wide, and he's stacked up, which means Blanchard got to come in the wind, in the cold. He's missed 2 from 42 yards. It's up, and it's no good. It's no good. The Bills celebrate their 5th AFC East title in the last 6 years. The Jets again play well enough to win, but they don't. Buffalo wins it 16-14 in a day surprisingly so cold. The teams combined for close to 500 yards passing. 6 straight playoff berths for the Bills. The Jets still alive, but they need help. Colts at the pass. Well, Bill Parcells has said that sooner or later this team would come around. They played so many close games. They're looking to win 3 in a row for the first time since '88. One thing you know, when Bills teams are rolling, means their tailback is rolling. Derek Russell, 14 yards around the end. Same drive. Derek Russell off left tackle. Look at the hole for 15 yards.
Yeah, a great lead block here by Kevin Turner on Jeff Arad right there to spring Russell. Very much like the blocking patterns we saw Parcells install in New York with the Giants.
With Carthon, etc. Then Russell caps it with a 2-yard run. 7-0 the P-Man. Bill Parcells Patriots at home. They look like they like the elements. The Colts are an indoor team. Temperatures in the 20s and falling, just like quarterback Jeff George. Ed Marcher Broda saying that afterwards that one of the worst games he's ever been associated with. Derek Russell, 20-yard game. Russell, 13 for 96, or 97, not for the game, but for the first quarter. Less than 30 seconds to go in the half. The Patriots winning 10-0. Would it be Matt Barr? No. It's Bledsoe to Ben Winter Coach. Knocked out at the 1-yard line, Tom.
Yeah, anytime you see a receiver this open underneath in a zone package, you know that somebody has missed a coverage zone.
And then the play sets up Bledsoe. Zing to starving Marvin Cook. 17-0 the Patriots at the half in the third quarter. Bledsoe to Michael Timpson. Nice touch. He just slings it out of the backfield. Timpson does the rest for 29 yards. Same drive. The same combination. Bledsoe and Timpson. 30 yards. Touchdown. 24-0 the Patriots in Olathe. 400 yards of total offense. The Colts went nowhere. And when Rodney Culver fumbled, one of the graybeards on the patch, Andre Tippett. Is this his last couple of games with the Patriots? You think Bill would like him around? The Patriots roll, I mean roll, 38-0 over the hapless Indianapolis Colts. Too bad only 26,000 were on hand to see 3 straight wins for the Patriots. This is a team that lost 9 games by a total of 40 points. Today they win by 38. Their biggest winning margin since 1979, Tom, and that's when you were a young pup in the National Football League. The Patriots, you know, they play Miami up in the cold next week, so they could end with 4, and they could get out of the basement, and they're on their way. As for the Bills, Jets, we've seen this in the Jets before, haven't we?
Well, I think the Jets did a lot more to lose the game than the Bills actually did to win the game. And when you consider the last call that Coslett made from scrimmage, the 3rd down and 3 call, looking at a 42-yard field goal in sub-zero temperatures, that's much more like a 52-yarder for a kicker. And he had to make a call where he was either going to get yardage or place the ball more into the middle of the field. I think it's questionable, and I think that he'll look back on it and be second-guessed by everyone.
Well, he will, and the Jets are still alive. But the Bills win the East, and they know they could still be 1, 2, or 3 seed, depending on what happens to the end. As we go inside the numbers, if you were with us on NFL Game Day, we told you that the Patriots against the Colts, they like playing them. Yeah, the Colts beat them earlier this year, but since '89, the Patriots against the Colts 7-3. Against everyone else, they're 11-58. Bill Parcells has petitioned the league to schedule the Colts 16 times next season. P-Man to the Super Bowl. When we return, Reggie White. He'd like a shot at the Super Bowl. Could the Pack clinch a playoff berth against the Raiders? Prime time. The Raiders at the Packers. Playoff berths are rare in Green Bay, even though that city has the name from the Lombardi years of Titletown. Last time the Pack made the playoffs 11 years ago in '82. Last time the Pack won the NFC Central was 1972. Cold? No problem with Green Bay, not for the Pack. Maybe a problem for the visiting Raiders from Southern California. It was the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field on a day better suited for the defense of Stalingrad. The 3rd coldest day in Packer history, 22 below the wind chill. Reggie White put the chill in Jeff Hostetler batting down a ball. Haas overthrowing the Jet. James Jet looked like a Cessna. And then Hostetler picked off by George Ice-T. Haas sacked by Reggie White.
Haas day, he saw the pack.
Yeah, and look at the relentless pursuit of Reggie White when he's looking for a sack. Here he goes at Max Montoya. He gets off the block to the outside, then continues to pursue the quarterback, drags Hostetler down by one leg for a sack.
Art Shell knew it would be tough to move the football as the Haas sacked 3 times, was picked, and only 56 yards passing. But it's a scoreless game in the first until Brett Favre and Sterling Sharp take care of business. He needs one to become the first man ever to grab 102 separate seasons, and Sharp did it in 2 straight. There's the math. Congratulations, Sterling Sharp. Looking to break his own record. Late in the second quarter, Favre, well, he's done it 100 times. Why not do it 101? 17 yards. Look at the turn, the spin, down to the 1-yard line, setting up an Edgar Bennett run. 7-0 Pack at the half. Third quarter. Art Shell watched as Favre, without his starting tight end, Jackie Harris, go long at West. And West does it. Mike Holmgren looks at the script. Let's go back to Sharp. Here's that pattern. You see, makes the move on McDaniel. Tommy, he's so strong. 11 touchdowns. This 23 yards, 14-0 pass.
The Sterling Sharp is the complete package here. Motion inside, loses himself in between 2 people, goes back outside, faces the defender. Quickness, speed, power. The nice cut right there at the 1-yard line to get into the end zone.
On the next Raider drive, number 90, Tony Bennett, leads Jeff Hostetler's heart at Lambeau Field. The Haas had a concussion, was down for all. Fortunately, it was only a concussion. He didn't return, though, when the veteran Vince Evans warms up. Haas has had a battered year. He's had a real good year, but he's taken some licks. Vince Evans comes in, and he remembers that Reggie White is pretty good. Second sack of the day for the Minister of Defense. 33 sacks for the Pack in their last 9 games. Things would get worse. Evans, watch this play. To Randy Jordan. Leroy Butler with the hit. The ball never hits the turf. There's Reggie White. Now look at him dish it off like Bob Lanier in the pivot. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There's Dave Bing, i.e. Leroy Butler. Touchdown. Oh, that Reggie White in the pivot. 21-0. What a great scene. The Pack into their loving fans in the stands. Al Davis. Well, he didn't think the scene was so great. Darrell Thompson ended with a 60-yard run, giving up 101 on the day. The Pack shut out the Raiders 28-0, and they clinch a playoff berth. The Raiders at 9-6 have to wait until the final week. We told you it was cold, but the Pack warmed up the place. Lions at the Bears. Packers win. Could the Lions keep pace? Well, if it was cold at Green Bay, it wasn't a lot warmer at Soldier Field. Jim Harbaugh in the beleaguered Bears offense, but he's found a receiver in Terry Obie for 8 yards. And we push the pile in the cold, and that's Tim Worley. Waiting to find a hole, does so off right tackle for 7 yards. Then Harbaugh rolls to escape the rush, finds Obie again, a sliding grab at the 5. That sets up Worley from the 1. Hey, the Bears, the juggernaut, 10-minute drive, 16 plays, 7-0 lead over the Lions. But Eric Kramer has been back in the saddle, and he's given the Lions new life. Here he hits Herman Moore, makes a nice grab in Bears territory. Same drive now, second quarter. Kramer skids a little, but finds Brett Perriman wide open in the seam, Tommy, from down to the 25. Then the big one. Kramer, Perriman, nice throw, touchdown, and we're tied at 7.
Yeah, Perriman runs a nice post route here, continues across the field. Kramer leads him nicely, hits him right in between the numbers.
10-7 the Lions at the half. You see Kramer's first half stats, 12 of 15. Second half didn't warm up any, but Pat Swilling trying to do it for the Lions D. Here he does, coming around the outside, and when Harbaugh does it, boom, he strips the ball from him. The Lions recovered. Swilling and the Lions are fired up. Kramer gets the break, and he tries to make the Bears pay for it. It's hit Richard Dent with a move of his own, but no, Kramer escapes. And the beautiful throw against the grain to Aubrey Matthews for 25 yards.
Yeah, and this is a very difficult throw. After he escaped the rush at Dent, look at him go up off his feet to put this ball right where it has to be caught by Matthews.
Dave Wannstedt, fourth quarter, knows the Bears needed really to keep in the run for any division hope. Hits Keith Jennings, does Harbaugh inside the 10. That sets up Harbaugh 1-yard run to the Bears, leading 14-13. But Kramer is undaunted. Goes back to Perriman. Passing very well on a cold day for 13 yards. Then, the play action to Perriman on the left side. He's open inside the 20. Then the 1-yard dart to tie a yellow ribbon Halleck. 20-14 the Lions. Wayne Fontes hopes his defense can brave a Bears drive. 4th and 4, 2 minutes to go. Incomplete to Curtis Conway. The Lions, yeah, they're still very much in it. As a matter of fact, they clinched at least a wild card berth. The Lions go to Chicago where they were written off, and they beat the Bears 20-14. Kramer 23 of 31. And afterwards, Wayne Fontes says, we have reason to be proud.
I've been in first place since day one. This team believes in me. I believe in this football team. That was any indication. I hope you think about one another in this locker room and the organization. Mr. Ford and Doug Schmidt, Michael Hughes, my scouts, everybody. We believe what we're trying to do. A lot of people kind of wrote us out, wrote me out. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm fighting for my job. I want to do this. Thank you very much.
Well, let me tell you something. The Lions players, they like Wayne. We saw that right away when he took over years ago for Darryl Rogers. And I think Wayne wears his heart on his sleeve. So let's sum it up. Both the Packers and the Lions, Tommy, have clinched at least wild card berths. They play next week at the Silverdome. One will win the NFC Central and host the first-round game. The other will be a wild card team, either the second or third wild card team. And as far as the Raiders game up at Green Bay, they looked out of their element.
Well, a quick point on each of these games. I think certainly we talked about the Raiders and that vertical game. That vertical game does not work when you're talking about sub-zero temperatures. I think you have to do what the Packers did. You have to run the short passing game, allow your receivers to catch the ball, and then make yardage. And going to the Lions and the Bears, Eric Kramer would seem to be the quarterback that the Lions have needed. He's the guy with the touch. He's the guy who can escape the pocket and spot people in the open areas. They struggled with Pete. They struggled with Ware. They're winning with Eric Kramer.
So there's an example of a team that got off to a good start. It was good enough to afford them to have a lull, and now they're back at it. Unlike Saints and Eagles, who look like they've kind of Browns have squandered that early start. Lions and Pack are in. And Sterling Sharp is in as the only man to catch 100 passes 2 times. So we wondered, of the guys that caught 100 or more, how did they do the next year? Lionel Taylor for the old Broncos with the striped socks in 61, caught 100 his next year, 77. Charlie Hennigan for the Oilers caught a 101 in 64. The next year, it slumped to 41. Arthur Monk had the standard until Sharp broke the record at 106, followed with 91 for the Skins at 84. Jerry Rice, 100, followed by 80. Hayward Jeffries, a couple years ago, at 100, followed by 90. The best, Sterling Sharp. As you can see, he needs only 3 to best his own record. 214 catches in 2 years. Not bad. Cards looking to catch the Giants on an off day. We'll be back. At the top of the hour, Marcus Allen. Can he add to his touchdown total? He's been doing it on a weekly basis. Chiefs, Vikes, 8 Eastern from the Homer Dome right here. The New York Giants have had a marvelous season, marvelous in that they've been so consistent. But with the Dallas Cowboys looming next week, the Giants with a Monday night win on the road at New Orleans, when it's cold in the Northeast, they've got Christmas and a couple of nice days at Phoenix, there was a slight chance that maybe this one added up to potential trouble, even for the steady G-men. You had a feeling the Giants would have their hand full. Phillippe Sparks, punt coverage with Anthony Edwards and Robert Massey. Phil Simms has had a great year. Play action, and he zings it in the right flat to Rodney Hampton. Well, play action to Hampton, finds Callaway for 16, then Simms looking a little make a catch for 13 yards. And then Rodney Hampton running the leading rushing team in football. They had a tough time. Hampton greeted by Ken Harvey in the defensive line. The Dan Reeves squad settled for a field goal, 3-0 G-Man. Gary Clark. He has killed the Giants over the years. A member of the Redskins. Clark, the 11th player in NFL history to catch 600 passes. Gary Clark, a gutty man over the middle of the field. You know that, Tom. Giants still moving the ball well. 3rd and 10, Simms to Meggett. Gets by number 54, David Braxton, and he dives for 17 yards. 3rd and 3. Simms to Aaron Pierce, knocked away by Lorenzo Lynch. Giants dominating time in the first half, but they lead only 6-0. 3rd quarter, it's 6-3, and Ron Moore, the youngster, runs for 12 yards. Moore cuts back left for 6 yards. Then on 2nd and 4, Moore takes the handoff first into the secondary, and he carries the Giants into the end zone with him as 10-6 Cards.
Yeah, the Giants here blitz both inside linebackers, Carlton Bailey and Corey Miller. Moore takes it to the outside. The entire Giants secondary has to bring him down, but it's a little bit too late.
Then the flea flicker, the Giants trying to get the lead back. The flea flicker to Mark Jackson, but it's a fumble. The Giants only 1 fumble in 4 games going in, but it's a fumble, and the Cards recover, Tom.
Yeah, Sims threw the ball here into the flat. Mark Jackson got hit by Eric Hill, and the ball was recovered by Robert Massey right there.
And so the Cardinals, they give it to Ron Moore. He had 135 yards. These were very few of them, but one of his 2 touchdowns. And so the Cardinals making their feelings known. They're playing hard for a well-liked coach, Joe Bugle. The fans want to see him stay, and they upset the Giants. The Cardinals, who almost upset them in the Meadowlands a little over a month ago, beat the Giants 17-6. So the G-men fall to 11-4. Meanwhile, while the Giants were losing, not far away from Phoenix and Dallas, it was Jimmy Johnson against the rival Redskins. Remember, the Redskins upset them on opening Monday night. But they didn't have Emmitt Smith, Dan, and very soon the Redskins found that Dallas with Emmitt, little different. That was 15 yards. Here's 8 yards, Tom.
Yeah, linebackers here have a very hard time focusing on him. Ask Kurt Gobert right there, number 54. Very shifty style once he gets into the secondary. He starts to slip and slide by people, and he's got very strong legs that allow him to actually run through people.
So the Cowboys, when Emmitt runs, you can use play action, and he does it right there. Aikman rolling right. And let's go to another Pro Bowler, right? But Michael Irvin, 8-yard touchdown, and the Cowboys lead it 14-3 after Low Miller's field goal had earlier given the Redskins a 3-0 lead. Aikman to Alvin Harper. Harper takes 3 skins and knocks him down for 13 yards. Aikman, Harper makes the catch. Some nifty footwork to get in the end zone. Touchdown. 21-3. The Cowboys emphatically with a dunk. Emmitt Smith able to relax and watch the defense. Mark Rippon was 6-3 as a starter against the Cowboys, but Russell Maryland with the sack. Tony Casillas. Now this looks like the defense we saw last year. Rippon threw for only 81 yards on a horrible day. Emmitt, he didn't have a horrible day. He ran for 19 and a first down. Smith, let's run up the middle. Let's cut left. Look at him make the move. Let's get him go. 35 yards. Emmitt Smith, 153 yards for Emmitt today, as he wants to win the rushing title. 37-1 is Dallas when he has 20 or more carries. 27-1 when he has 100 or more yards, like those old Dorsett numbers. I.e., Emmitt's good, they're good. Calvin Williams takes the Reggie Roby punt, and Kevin is gone. Let's get it go. 35-3. Richie Pettibone's Skins have had a long season after that great opening night with so much promise. Dallas slices and dices the Skins, 38-3. The Cowboys and Giants each with the same record at 11-4, although despite the Giants' loss, it really doesn't change much. It all comes down to next Sunday at the Meadowlands, Week 18, Dallas at the Giants. If Dallas wins, they win the East and home field throughout the playoffs in the NFC. If the Giants win, they get the same. The other goes to the wild card slot. Get the feeling the Cowboys are just starting to find their stride, Tom?
Well, I think they certainly, as you said, they look like the defense that we saw play most of last year. And I take exception to those people who will say that the game that the Giants played against the Cardinals was meaningless, because it was not. Emotionally, they were going into this next game, this must-win situation with the Cowboys, on an emotional high. Now they're playing at opposite ends of the spectrum. They go in, I think, with a little doubt in their mind as to whether they can beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys will feel like they're the same old Giants that they played last year, rather than the team that won some 8 out of 9, 9 out of 10 games.
Was it 31-9? That was the score.
Yes.
That was November 7th. That had been the last Giant loss. That was the Dallas game until this loss today to the Cardinals. Well, let's look at our honor roll. Emmitt Smith certainly on it for 100-yard rushers. But ironically, the guy that had the most rushing yards was on a losing team. You don't see it that much. Eric Pegram ran for 180 yards. But the Falcons were tripped up by the Bengals. Emmitt, you saw the 153. Leonard Russell, marvelous for the Patriots. And Ron Moore for the Cardinals had a pair of touchdowns and 135 yards. John Vaughn, Seahawk highlights coming up. Darrell Thompson had 60 on one of his touchdown runs for the winning pack. Speaking of the Seahawks, when we return, the Seahawks trying to put a hurt on the Steelers' playoff chances up in the Pacific Northwest. We'll be back. Here we go from Mile High, where Wade Phillips Broncos figured to sit on the Buccaneers, but the temperatures in the 50s, which meant the Bucs had a chance, because they never win games when it's below 32 degrees. Rod Bernstein upended, lands on his right shoulder. He'd leave the game with a dislocated shoulder, a bad loss for the Broncos. His replacement, Robert Del Pino, ran hard, gets the good blocking, 13 yards on the sweep. 2 plays later, Reggie rolling on the Rivers. Gets the block here, rolls outside left, 14 yards inside the 5-yard line, Tom.
Yeah, a big hole open up here for Rivers, but look to the left of your screen. Look at the block by Del Pino right there, puts the safety down on the ground, allows Rivers to get the 14 yards.
Very next play, Rivers, only his 10th carry of the year. Economical with the touchdown, 7-0 the Broncos. But Sam Weiss's Buccaneers have played better down the stretch. Craig Erickson. Look at him just fight off the rush by Shane Dronette. And he uncorks to Dave Moore. Touchdown, my goodness. What a Bucs play. Perhaps the play of the day, Elway to Tony Kimbrough. Yeah. Oh, he catches it, but he came from out of bounds. It'll still make our highlight reel. 10-7 Bucs in the second half, turning point of the game. Glenn Milburn, remember what a big year he had? In September, big month. Well, it's a big bubble right here as Roger Jones falls on it.
Yeah, Roger Jones right there stepped on Glenn Milburn's foot, did not give him room to catch the football. It actually should have been the Broncos' ball, but it's a penalty that's seldom called.
3 plays later, Erickson to Courtney Hawkins. Wow, look at the touch. Erickson, a good game at Mile High, 17-7 the Bucs. Smelling the upset. Broncos driving. John Elway complete to Cedric Tillman. But he is tripped by Martin Minshew. And Joe King falls on it for the Bucs. Glenn Milburn on the punt return. Tries to redeem himself. Let him go. He could go all the way. Except he fumbled. Another turnover. And the Buccaneers eventually come up with the ball. They lead it 17-10. One last chance. They didn't have to go for Elway 4th and 6. Elway to Shannon Sharp. Underthrown. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have gone into Mile High Stadium and have upset the Denver Broncos, who do make the playoffs anyway, but not the way they wanted to. Bucs 17, the Broncos 10. Steelers 1-3 lifetime at the Kingdome against the Seahawks. Rick Meyer. No time to wallow in the mire for Rick without his running back Chris Warren. Had an injury diagnosed before the game, but John Vaughn, the former Patriot, runs for 25 yards. Remember the Steelers were once impregnable when you tried to move the ball on them? Forget it. That was years ago. 33-yard run by the rookie quarterback. Then it's Vaughn. Up the middle. Where's the defense? Greg Lloyd out. They obviously missed him. It's 11-yard run. Vaughn, 131 yards, a career high. 2nd and goal. Meyer looks. Then finds Paul Green. Color of money. 7-0, Tom.
Yeah, you watch here, number 22, Vaughn again on the right. Here comes Chad Brown on the left of your screen. Vaughn takes him out. Meyer has enough time to release the ball for the touchdown.
Against the run, Bill Cowher's defense had been tough. But at the half, Seattle had double what they allow normally in a game. Woodson, Lake, and company try and get them fired up. Neil O'Donnell out of his end zone to the tight end, Eric Green. Rubbed and bumped and stumbling for 43 yards. Then, as Green tries to get his teammates fired up, O'Donnell to Dwight and the Family Stone. Everyday people, 30 yards. O'Donnell looking for a play as they switch quarters. 3rd and goal from the 12. He can't find a receiver. And then the safety, Eugene Robinson's had a big year for the Seahawks defense, makes the sack.
And what a great effort by Eugene Robinson. Here, blocked right there, jumps up again in the air, and then the great burst right there to get to O'Donnell. You can't outrun Eugene Robinson.
Tom Flores. Well, they ran for 267 yards, 4th highest in team history. This is a team that used to grind it out with Kurt Warner and John L. Williams. And boy, the Pittsburgh Steelers, since that whitewash of the Bills on Monday Night Football, where have you been? The Seahawks beat them 16-6. Browns at the Rams. Well, maybe Cleveland fired up because JB, Jim Brown, on the sidelines. Eric Metcalf, one of the most exciting players in the game, runs up the gut for 10 yards. That's the game Metcalf had not far from there earlier in the year against the Raiders at the Mausoleum. This in Anaheim. And Vinny Testaverde says he likes this Southern California thing. 20 yards to Metcalf. Testaverde to Keenan McCardle. Touchdown. Nice pass, Vinny. 14-7 the Browns.
Yeah, McCardle here makes a very nice move on the Rams cornerback, Courtney Griffin. Gets himself wide open right there in the corner of the end zone. That's an easy shot for Vincenzo.
3rd quarter. Still 14-7 Browns. On 2nd and 2, Vinny, all play action Vinny. He looks for McCardle, streaking into the end zone, touchdown. 28 yards, 21-7. 4 touchdowns for McCardle in his last 2 games. Touchdown, Keenan McCardle in the 4th quarter. Metcalf on the sidelines with his knee banged up. So Mark Carrier says, well, I know you're not there, big guy, but I'll take this Sean Landeta punt and make it a personal Landeta. Touchdown, 28-7 the Browns. Chuck Knox can't believe Cleveland rolling it up on the Rams. Down 28-7, TJ Rubley Tuesday. Wishes it was Tuesday. Randy Hilliard picks it off. He could go all the way. The quarterback Rubley saves the touchdown. Rubley in the first half, 5. In the second half, not so fine. That sets up. Touchdown, Tommy Bardell. There it is. 35-7 Browns. Oh, by the way, Vinny Testaverde. Unbelievable. 21 of 23 breaks the old record for completion percentage in one game. Ken Anderson had gone 20 of 22 a little more than a decade ago for the Bengals. Vinny Testaverde into the record books. The Browns boil the Rams 42-14. So Vinny and Eric Allen into the NFL record books, as is Sterling Sharp today. Game ball. And Tommy and I return in a moment. It's time for primetime players. My game ball, I got to give it to the Minister of Defense. Pair of sacks today, but this great play. Look at him again in the pivot after Butler makes the strip. Look at Reggie White in the pivot. Zelmo Beatty. Dish it off to the man on the outside for the jumper. Good. Leroy Butler with the touchdown. Reggie